Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello. Yo, give me 1 second.
Oh, what happened?
I got a reason.
A phone rang or something. I heard something happen. His phone rang right as we entered in. I think your mic is messed up too. So what's up, everybody? Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Tuesday matinee edition of the Do Distance podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular's microphone and chair. Appreciate you all being here today. We got a great crowd in here to start the program. 601 strong in the YouTube chat, 534 strong in the Rumble chat. So great crowd in here to start the show. Please smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, smash that follow button over on Rumble. I think your mic got disconnected. He's got to put his headphones back in.
It was a delivery.
Your mic got disconnected or something.
Really?
Oh, no, wait a minute. Maybe you just pushed it away from your face.
Yeah, it's okay, right?
Yeah, now it's good. Now it's good. It was far away from your head.
Sorry about that. Yeah, because the delivery came right then.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. It's not like the middle of the show.
One time I had a knock on the door right before we started the show. Like while the countdown was running, it was like 3 minutes to go until we were on. I get a knock at the door, which normally I just wouldn't take because it's normally a delivery or something, but I'm like, oh, what is this? They don't usually ring the bell. So I get to the downstairs, and it's National Grid, which is the utility company here. And she says...
That's not... I thought that was the right-wing party in Hudson County.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, the National Front Grid. Yeah, the lady from National Grid says, "Hey, so I just want to let you know, we're doing some upgrade to the electrical system, so you're going to be without power for about 15 minutes." I said, "Well, that's not going to work." I said, "I have a meeting that starts now." You can't say you have a show because then they're like, "All right, yeah, whatever, you have a show."
Screw you.
What the hell does that mean?
All right, fuck you, Alpha.
Yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean? You're playing Call of Duty for 9 people? That's what they think when you think when you say you have a show. So I didn't say I have a show. I said, "Look, I have a really important meeting that I need the internet for right now. Is there a way this can wait?" So she's like, "Yeah, it can wait." She says she gives me a little plaque, card, and says, "Here, text this number when it's a good time for us to come back," which I never did. So apparently, I'm on the old system, the old National Grid system. Apparently, I've not upgraded yet. But yeah, that was my pre-show horror story.
You're going to be first in line for the camps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You did not upgrade to the National Grid.
Yeah,
that's the time.
Well, it's funny, we had what was it? What was I just gonna say? Lost my train of thought because there we go. Perfect. All right. Sorry, your mic was a little loud. I put you on auto. I'm gonna put myself on auto too, just so we
normally on auto. How'd I get off on?
Yeah, we're supposed to be on auto. I'm supposed to be on auto too. All right, now we're both on auto. That should work. All right, can you all hear us? All right. All right. Beautiful.
You're just too good to be true.
Yeah. Yeah. But imagine if I hadn't answered the door that day. It would have been crazy because she'd have just done it. Like she'd have just figured, all right, I guess he's not home, so here I go. And then the power would have just turned off for no reason. That would have been very strange. But hey, folks, thank you all for being here today. Appreciate it very much. 790 filing in on YouTube, 649 filing in on Rumble. Thanks to everybody who joined for our special Inauguration Day stream yesterday. That was a Rumble exclusive. We had a lot of fun with all of you guys, so appreciate that. We have the great Ellin Jimmerson, our friend, filmmaker, journalist, immigration expert, Ellin Jimmerson, joining us a little bit later.
Former go-go girl.
During the show. Yes, exactly. She's waiting in the waiting room.
About that on the air. Maybe she'll share some of her colorful tales.
Yeah, there you go.
Working the poll in San Francisco, her younger days.
Yeah. She is backstage right now. We'll be admitting her shortly.
I've never shared my stories about that.
Yeah. You lived in San Francisco for a while.
I did. You know what I went to? I'm not a strip club guy. I've never understood the appeal of paying for some kind of sexual experience like that. I could see burlesque, which is theoretically supposed to have some artistic merit, although I find it usually doesn't. The club that Lenny Bruce used to play, I went to as a pilgrimage because it had been, they probably gutted it by now, but when I was living there, they had preserved it in that decor. So It was like this old school 60s, 70s kind of gentleman's lounge decor with the oil paintings, and they still kept it in a burlesque style because it was known for Lenny Bruce having played there. So so I went there, but yeah, they have quite a strip club scene there in general. Back then they did anyway.
In San Francisco, I bet so.
Yes.
Bet so. All right. So, like I said, we got our friend Ellin Jimmerson coming on in a little while, but we got plenty to get to on day one, the full first day of the new Trump term. Obviously, technically, day one was yesterday, but this is the first full day in Trump World 2.0. And boy, did it get started with a bang, with many bangs. But our first story of the day, not a Trump story per se, but a story about the most powerful man in the world for real, which is, of course, Elon Musk.
Yes. So Elon made a lot of headlines right off the bat in his speech.
Yes, didn't waste any time.
Not for anything that he said, but for this peculiar gesture that he threw out. So there was a lot of reaction to this. So PBS News kind of summed it up here. Billionaire Elon Musk gave what appeared to be a fascist salute Monday while making a speech at the post-inauguration celebration for President Donald Trump at the Capital One Arena. Well, we'll see some of what he said, but actually, all right. So this is the context. We don't have this in the clips. Quote, some elections are important, some are not, but this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen, Musk said before putting his hand on the chest and then raising it in a salute that appeared similar to the Sieg Heil used by Nazis at their victory rallies. It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured, Musk said. Trump, that does not at all have fascist overtones whatsoever.
Not every election matters, but when you get a chance to vote for a Nazi sympathizer, it matters a lot to me, as you will see.
What one might say tomorrow belongs to me. Yeah. Trump named Musk and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy to lead the Department of Government Efficiency. That didn't work out. An outside commission aimed at identifying federal programs and spending to cut. After Trump was sworn in, multiple lawsuits were filed against the Trump administration, claiming that the move violates federal transparency laws. All right, so let's take a look at the clip of what he actually did. If you want to see the more extended cut of what he said in full, he actually tweeted that out himself.
Yes.
So let me make sure it's the right one. Okay.
You know, there are elections that come and go. Some elections are, important. Some are not. But this one, this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you. It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured.
All right, so this is one of those stories where people's reaction was really quite a prism. It gave you a lot of insight into where they're coming from. So here's Libs of TikTok. CNN is suggesting that Elon did a Nazi salute during his speech at the Capital One Arena. I mean, that's just crazy. You just saw it. He was just waving. He was doing a Queen Elizabeth. He was literally motioning, "My heart goes out to you." This is why no one trusts the fake media. Yeah, that old fake media calling a Nazi salute a Nazi salute. How dare they?
That was it was the "My Heart Will Go On." It was in the Autistic Child Sing-Along album, available on iTunes for $9.99.
Well, and that's what they don't report on CNN, that he threw out a heart-shaped diamond at the end of the speech. Okay, so this was the CNN take.
Engaged. He is a hero. He is a hero to them. I just want to look at that salute that he gave again. Just if anybody missed it, we'll just show it again. He's just wrapped up here. You can hear these.
So good. So funny. Oh.
All right, so we just showed that. We just showed that.
Right. It's worth salute. It was quick. I think our viewers are smart and they can take a look at that. But it certainly was. It's not something that you typically see at American political rallies, put it that way.
No, it was not something that you usually would see. And it was quick, as you point out, it was very quick, but it was in a moment of intensity for him as he came out dancing, and then he did that. He is a hero here.
Something you don't see usually. And you could see that they hadn't really decided how they were going to define it at this point. But I'm gonna do a Jennifer Rubin here. So what's the fallacy here? What's the fallacy? Smart viewers and CNN. Yeah. The idea that the CNN viewers are smart.
This is our audition tape for the Contrarian. We're looking to get bought out by the Contrarian.
We're hoping to.
We're hoping they'll buy us out. We'll still do the show, but under their banner.
Yeah, as you'll see later, they'll take anybody.
Yeah.
So here's an honest crowd reaction in the moment when it happened. Very much like with CNN, you're getting an honest reaction before they really solidified the narrative, because they don't go all in. They actually give some credence to the idea that it was just an exuberant moment that came off wrong before they had settled on a point of view. Very much like that with this initial crowd reaction.
Oh, careful. Careful with that salute.
Yeah. They saw the problem right away. Let's see that again.
I just want to say thank you for making it happen.
Thank you.
Oh, careful. Careful with that salute. Yeah.
So they seemed to know what was coming. So here's Harry Hassan.
Harry Hassan, a mixture of Mehdi Hassan and Harry Hassan.
That's gonna be the name of their adopted baby.
Yeah.
When they finally come out. All right. So Harry getting to the end of his 15 minutes here. WTF? What did Elon Musk just do? And Hassan Piker. Did Elon Musk just hit the Roman salute at his inauguration speech? So we have a little video of Hassan's reaction there.
This was great too.
I want to say thank you.
Anyway, let's look at one of these tech billionaire oligarchs speaking at the inauguration.
My heart goes out to you.
Did he just sig heil?
It is thanks to you that the future of civilization.
Show that one more time. Sure, I want to see that one more time. It's just like his lips make a perfect circle.
Anyway, let's look at one of these tech billionaire oligarchs speaking at the inauguration.
My heart goes out to you.
Did he just Sig Heil?
It is thanks to you that the future of civilization.
That is funny shit.
Look, man, I'm gonna to paraphrase Les Moonves. Donald Trump may be bad for the country, but he's good for due dissidents.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So this was my erstwhile partner here on Due Dissidents account. Trump, okay, no stupid mistakes this time. Elon an hour later. This is my take. One man's inauguration is another man's coming out party. Bill Madden here, musician and environmental activist. If giving the Nazi Sieg Heil salute was an Olympic event like gymnastics, Elon Musk would have received a perfect score of 10. Musk even nailed the facial expression. Seriously, Hitler would be jealous. Now this is where, we'll talk a little bit about this later. I feel like very much like with Trump itself, the libs' reaction winds up actually making the target of their derision look better because they're so cringe. And essentially dishonest, because you always know that if this were one of their own, and that applies to the other side too, as we'll see, they would never go there. So here's Jerry Nadler. What if Biden had done that? No, he was waving hello. This is a cheap fake. I never imagined we would see the day when what appears to be a Heil Hitler salute would be made behind the presidential seal. This abhorrent gesture has no place in our society and belongs in the darkest chapters of human history. I urge all of my colleagues to unite in condemning this hateful gesture for what it is, anti-Semitism. Okay, so Ruth Ben-Gyat, historian of fascism here. It was a Nazi salute and a very belligerent one too. Okay, so I decided. So I was curious. I said, with a name like that, what are the odds she's not a Zionist? Now, to be fair, I went through her Blue Sky account and I couldn't find her speaking on that issue one way or the other. It's what we call a profile of courage. But oh boy, what a resistance lib this one is. So much so, excited to be a part of this. She's joining the Contrarian.
Our future colleague, Ruth Ben-Gyat.
Yeah. Our future colleague. And, as is very typical of these pseudo-historian academic types that will just parrot establishment propaganda and they'll trot them out to validify a kind of State Department foreign policy. She writes stuff like this, right? Oh, I wrote this essay about the psychological toll of lengthy regimes like Assad's and Gaddafi's. They're much better off. Can you write something about the psychological toll of being sold in a slave market?
Right.
In what's left of Gaddafi's country? No, she's not going to write that. Again, good example of why your lib ant is deranged, because they read articles like that. So this is from my personal accounts, just to give you an idea of some of the less illustrious lib takes. This new salute looks too familiar. Starting now, keep your friends, family, and community safe. Y'all make me fucking sick to be in league with Nazis. So that inspired me to respond a few hours after my initial coming out party tweet. Oh, there's another one. So this, you might have seen some of the segments I've done on the Israeli comedian Yohei Sponder. We may do a story about him Thursday. Apparently a comedy club in Amsterdam canceled his show because basically his show is, the thing about genocide is, hey, whoa, right. He thinks it's very funny what they're doing to the Palestinians. So this is what he tweeted out. All of you scumbags and weak fake feminist blowjobs who haven't and won't say shit about real Nazis doing real Nazi salutes and real terrorists that have real Jewish citizens right now in tunnels, don't cry about this Elon BS. So this was, I saw this in a few places. Zionists tried to seize onto this, say, but you didn't say anything about the Palestine protesters. So this is a personal connection of mine. This one, not Yohei Sponder. Yep, Elon Musk making 2 Nazi salutes at the inauguration was really gross. Glad to see that every other post on my feed is someone expressing outrage over it. You know what else is really gross? These pro-Palestinian idiots making Nazi salutes at their, quote, peaceful protests.
Okay.
Funny. I sure haven't seen much outrage at that, and it's been happening pretty consistently for 15 months now. Just a reminder, it's okay to speak up against anti-Semitism whenever and wherever you see it, not just when the side we hate engages in it. What do you want to say, Q?
Okay, well, I need my full screen, if you will, because I have to do a bit of a physical demonstration here, if that's okay. And actually, I don't want to actually do the moves exactly right, because didn't one guy get in trouble with YouTube for having his dog do a salute?
PewDiePie, yeah.
We're actually getting we're meeting our YouTube rep tomorrow. That's exciting. We're actually making a YouTube friend, so this will be grist for the mill. I'll ask her. So, over the next 4 years, it might be relevant. I might have to demonstrate what is and is not a Nazi salute. Is that okay? What are the rules on that, right?
Right.
So we'll figure more of that out. But as we'll learn later in the segment, you really can't tell what's a salute going off a still. You need the video because somebody can wave like this.
Right.
See, the salute, it's all in the wrist. So I remember when Laura Ingraham went on stage at the RNC. I think it was 2016. May have been 2020, but I'm pretty sure it was 2016. And she waved to the crowd, and her wrist was like this, which is not good. You don't want to do this. You want your wrist like this. You want to open face wave to the crowd. This good, this not good.
Sure.
Good, not good, good.
Oh,
not
that
good,
that goes without saying.
Right.
That
So
those
somebody
pictures
pictured
are
like
very
this is not
unlikely to
evidence.
really
Right.
be what they're saying it is.
So just taking a still of someone like that, that's not, what makes
course.
the Elon thing so funny is the intentionality of the physicality. I won't do the thing, don't worry. But he goes, like he just fucking so emphatically does it on video.
Even does the Il Duce jaw.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like the whole thing is like just so emphatically with such gusto. That's the smoking gun. A picture with someone's wrist like this, that doesn't mean anything.
That doesn't mean anything. But now all of those reactions is what led me to say this. By the time the libs get done virtue signaling off this, they'll have made the Nazi salute popular. And that's why. And yeah, I do believe, as with Trump himself, they do more harm than good because their reaction is so cringe that it helps to make the target of their ire look much more sympathetic than they might otherwise, because it's so clear that it's hypocritical, deranged, over the top, completely slanted, completely biased, which again, we'll see that on the other side as we go. But that is why I had that take a few hours after my initial take about the coming out. So let's get a little into the right-wing take. Okay, maybe woke really is dead. Now, clearly, most of the right wing read it as a Nazi salute. I mean, the real right wing.
They're like, finally, we get something for our vote. God damn it!
Yeah, right. It's like the evangelical Christians when they finally outlawed abortion. You know, finally, their long dedication finally paid off.
Yeah.
So this is Rolling Stone. I'm not going to get into their editorial, but their quotes here are accurate. Christopher Pohlhaus, the leader of the notorious neo-Nazi group Blood Tribe, posted the clip of Musk's salute on Telegram with a lightning bolt emoji and evocative of the Nazi SS and the caption, "I don't care if this was a mistake. I'm going to enjoy the tears over it." Another neo-Nazi leader, Christopher Hood, who founded the New England race separatist movement, NSC 131, also posted the clip to Telegram with the emojis, exclamation point, question mark, and a smiley face. Andrew Torba is the founder of the far-right Christian nationalist social media platform Gab, which pioneered AI-powered Nazi chatbots. He shared the clip on his account with the caption, "Incredible things are happening already, LMAO." Far-right author Keith Woods, well, that's the one we just took a look at. Thomas Sewell, an Australia-based neo-Nazi whose Telegram avatar is a picture of himself throwing a Roman salute, posted the video of Musk calling it a, quote, Donald Trump white power moment. All right. So now let's take a look at the Jews who want to get in on some of that Elon cash, I guess. Eyal Jacobi, Elon Musk just last year traveled with Ben Shapiro to Auschwitz and then Israel to learn about the Holocaust and Jewish history. Anyone trying to portray him as a Nazi is intentionally misleading the public. It was a stupid hand gesture, not an intentional Nazi salute. Now, the most remarkable Jewish representation or representative group or pseudo-representative group to back Elon's salute is the ADL. Now, Max Blumenthal, with characteristic cleverness, put this together. Elon and the ADL, a play in 4 acts. Times of Israel. This is from 5th September 2023. Musk threatens to sue ADL for billions, blaming U.S. Jewish group for X's revenue drop. After joining anti-ADL campaign by white supremacist, owner of site once known as Twitter says he opposes anti-Semitism while accusing organization of trying to kill this platform. And here we see him on a trip to Israel with Netanyahu there. Here we see him throw the salute. And ADL jumps out in front of Elon to take the bullet. This is a delicate moment. This is from the ADL now. It's a new day, and yet so many are on edge. Our politics are inflamed, and social media only adds to the anxiety. It seems that Elon Musk made an awkward gesture in a moment of enthusiasm. Not a Nazi salute, but again, we appreciate that people are on edge. In this moment, all sides should give one another a bit of grace. This is from the fucking ADL.
Listen, we appreciate your guilt and anxiety, but this is the richest man in the world who's pro-Israel, and so we're going to give him a pass.
And we got our hand in his pocket.
Yeah.
Perhaps even the benefit of the doubt and take a breath. This is a new beginning. Let's hope for healing and work towards unity in the months and years ahead. So AOC here, I guess, and again, like she's not wrong as far as it goes, but the hypocrisy, because she's been sitting there backing the author of mass incarceration and an accused rapist for years. She was her and the other progressive profiles encouraged, tried to fight to keep Joe Biden running in this election. So anything she says is tainted. But just to be clear, you are defending a Heil Hitler salute that was performed and repeated for emphasis and clarity. People can officially stop listening to you as any sort of reputable source of information now. You work for them. Thank you for making that crystal clear at all. Hang on. Now they stopped being a reputable source of information? Like they were reputable until now?
Well,
what are you talking about?
When she says you work for them, she means you work for Trump. That's what she's
for the
saying.
Republicans.
Like, you've chosen a side, and you're now going to back the Republicans. What you should say there is obvious. The point is completely obvious. I mean, the hypocrisy of the ADL in this case is just galling, even by their own standards. A pro-Palestine protester accidentally poked someone in the eye with the mini flag, and they didn't even poke him in the eye. It was a close quarter, and one of the Zionist counter-protesters walked past him, and it poked him in the eye. And the ADL will call that a pogrom, basically.
Right.
But a guy can literally go out, and we'll get into this later. Like, do I think Elon did Did I think Elon think, I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to do a Nazi salute? No. I think it reflects who he is, that in a moment of exuberance, that's where his subconscious mind took him.
I think
he digs it. And so you go out there.
I think he thinks Hitler is groovy.
Yeah, exactly. Under the white lights on a stage, you make a salute that's that fucking obvious. And hey, it was a little awkward, and we should show grace to each other. How much grace did you show to the student protesters? 0. You went out of your way to smear them at every turn. Oh, we should show grace to the richest man in the world who backs Israel. He deserves grace, but powerless college kids don't.
Getting their
What
head
fucking
cracked by the
scumbags.
cops.
Really unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Elon Musk, this was in response to the ADL backing him. Thanks, guys. Now I got to say, if you look at
PayPal.
if you look at the ADL's comments, most of the people who follow the ADL for their foaming at the mouth anti-Palestine sentiments, they were not buying it because they're not getting any money from Elon. 19-year-old student says free Palestine, anti-Semitic. Musk backs Germany's AfD and anti-Semitic replacement theories. Buys Twitter so Nazis load at the top. Zig hails multiple times. Give him the benefit of the doubt. The ADL has one job, but Jonathan Greenblatt can't do it. Well said. X may, and this is, you want to know where this all really comes from to flesh it out a little bit. This is the headline from when Elon had been accused of anti-Semitism on the platform. X may lose up to $75 million in revenue as more advertisers pull out. So that was what happened that led him to file a lawsuit against the ADL. And then, somebody sat him down. Somehow the message got across to him. That was a fight he couldn't win, and he bent the knee. That's what happened. So now this is interesting. So, the AfD, we're not going to get into where they fall in the political spectrum here. What's really relevant is where the ADL thinks they fall. This is the ADL, Alternative for Germany Party, what you need to know. Founded in 2013 as an anti-European Union party, AfD has since radicalized and become an extremist anti-immigrant party whose aim is to eliminate the free democratic basic order, according to a 2023 report by the German Institute for Human Rights. AfD leaders have made anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, and anti-democratic statements detailed below, but Elon endorsed the AfD. So if this is your opinion of the AfD, then why are you so insistent that he didn't throw a Nazi salute? That's interesting.
I think the common thread here is that anyone who hates Muslims is okay with the ADL.
Is you okay in that book?
Yeah, I think so. That seems to be. And we did a segment on the AfD a while back. It was a long time ago, and I honestly forget what we had to say.
It was.
I forget what we had to say, but it wasn't great. I mean, it seems like they're not a great party to me.
Okay, but I didn't
look good.
I know.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
That's why I don't want to litigate that right now.
No, I know.
But point of the segment, the ADL certainly thinks they're a fascist, anti-Semitic group. It's on their website.
Right.
Right?
Well, they're anti-Muslim. And so is Israel, and so is Elon. So boom.
Yeah,
there you go.
I mean they're pro-Israel, which this is something I think confuses a lot of people. There's a long tradition of racists who are racist separatists who believe, I'm fine with them. They should live in their own place. The KKK had a meeting with Malcolm X because they felt that their ideas were compatible. Yeah, you guys have, we'll give you Indiana or something. So they get very
was that the
confused.
KKK or Malcolm X? a lot of North Jersey Klansmen there. Yeah.
They did have that Nazi rally in New York City back in the day.
KKK approaches Malcolm
X.
There
really was a Nazi rally.
Yeah.
But I thought it was unfair to tar Trump with that. But people get confused when they see, because I saw Weidel, Alice Weidel is the leader of that party. I believe she gave an interview where she fully backs Israel. And people get confused when they see that. They think, well, they couldn't be racist. They back Israel. That's completely consistent with a certain type of racism. Like, having an ethno state that the Jews live in away from us, that's great. We love that. In fact, That was the thinking of the early Christian Zionists. Part of the motivation in England for a lot of the aristocracy to back the idea of giving Palestine to the Jews was to get them out of England.
Yeah, and at this point, it also has a Western chauvinist, Western supremacist character also.
Sure. So Max, another banger. Elon to be sentenced to another Auschwitz trip with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
He
doesn't have to do that this time. They're giving him a pass.
Yeah, no, you got to pass right off the bat.
Yep.
Aaron Astor, I have criticized Elon Musk many times. Okay, so this was the other one. The autistic defense was the other angle that a lot of right wingers took on this. I have criticized Elon Musk many times for letting neo-Nazis pollute this platform, but this gesture is not a Nazi salute. This is a socially awkward autistic man's wave to the crowd where he says, "My heart goes out to you." Batya Ungar Sargon, as a person with a strong track record of criticizing Elon Musk, I feel extremely confident asserting that this was not a Nazi salute. Elon Musk is a friend to the Jews. This is a man with Asperger's exuberantly throwing his heart to the crowd. We don't need to invent outrage, to which, again, Max for the win. Imagine the Zionist freakout bot you would have if Jeremy Corbyn lifted his arm somewhat like this.
Of course. Of course.
Absolutely.
And
so you wanted to say a little about that.
I have to talk about the very woke ableist defense or ableist, defense of Elon Musk. The Asperger's excuse. Okay, so the reason the Asperger's excuse doesn't work, there are two reasons the Asperger's excuse doesn't work. First, I would bet Hitler himself probably had Asperger's. I mean, Hitler seemed like a pretty on the spectrum kind of guy, Didn't make great eye contact, spoke in a loud monotone, weird fixation with trains, right? So Hitler seemed like a pretty on the spectrum guy.
Like dogs.
Yeah, right,
in
exactly.
A weird way.
Exactly. That's the first thing. Second thing is the same people who are
Not
defending
good with girls.
Yeah, right. Not great with women, right? Yeah, exactly. The second thing is, okay, the same people who are defending Elon saying, well, he has this social emotional disorder. These are people who view Elon Musk as an Ubermensch. They say he's a super genius. He builds rockets. He flies them into space. He's going to colonize Mars. The point is, in their view and in mine, I don't think Elon's a super genius, but whatever. I will grant them that for argument's sake because it strengthens my argument. Elon is a very, very, very high-functioning person. He is clearly not a guy crippled by some social or emotional disorders to the point where he can't get on in the world. The guy has forged many very important relationships that are pretty difficult to forge. For example, cozying up to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not the easiest guy to get along with, as we know. All right? Look at the turnover in the first Trump term. What did he go through? 2 secretaries of state? I don't even know how many. There was one cabinet position I think he filled 3 times. I think he had 3 AGs in his first term. So he's not the easiest guy to get along with, but Elon Musk has fostered that relationship. So to act as if Elon Musk, all of a sudden, when he makes a Nazi salute, now you're going to blame it on some really debilitating disorder of his, when clearly the man is a highly functional person.
Right.
He clearly does not have trouble integrating into society. You can't have it both ways.
Like if you're that weird and awkward, because I would argue Elon's genius is not in engineering, it's in manipulating the way that capitalism works.
Right, business
in America.
Exactly.
To get ahead without necessarily, in many cases, having a product to justify the valuation of his companies. That's been the case over and over.
And that requires people skills.
That requires people skills to understand how, look, Tesla lost money quarter after quarter after quarter, but because Elon was able to cultivate this mystique, it became a cult stock.
Right.
All of the, what today they might call the manosphere, those people were already there was already this Reddit trading community of younger people who would just buy the Tesla stock. That's why all the shorts who shorted it lost money.
Right.
Because they'd report a bad quarter and all of the Musk cultists would buy the stock and just not allow it to crash. That takes a certain amount of insight into human nature and crowd psychology to do that. So if you understand the logic of crowds that well, you understand not to go out in front of a crowd and do that twice.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Twice.
Yeah.
So I don't buy that either.
No.
So here's Marjorie Taylor Greene calling out PBS for the clip we showed at the top. That's why I used that one. As the chairwoman of the Oversight Committee subcommittee on Doge, I looked forward to PBS NewsHour coming before my committee and explaining why lying and spreading propaganda to serve the Democrat Party and attack Republicans is a good use of taxpayer funds. We will be in touch soon. Okay, so now listen, I do feel that with NPR, with PBS, there is a political bias that is worth questioning, given that they do get public funds. They're not private organizations. It's a valid question, but they literally described what he did. It looked like, they didn't say he gave a fascist salute. They said what appeared to be. Are you saying that's not accurate?
I mean,
Are you saying that didn't appear to be a fascist?
I mean, that
salute?
is a textbook fascist salute. Like, I don't think he did it with premeditated intention.
No,
but I do think that when that is what comes out of you in a moment of exuberance, it speaks to your psyche and
it
your
speaks
state
to what you
priorities,
think about at night.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this was the other very common defense, where going back to what you were saying earlier, capturing screenshots of people mid-wave or mid-gesture as if it looked like that. So libs of TikTok, not surprisingly, shared that. I'm sure the media is completely outraged by this, right? Right? Now our friend Mad Crab responded to this. Dear MAGA, I need you to take a deep breath and tell me this is the same exact thing. So you have that video?
Yeah, I do. And Mad Crab is a good friend of ours. He's over at INN. Hardly a lib. I know we're going to get shit from this. Well, you're defending Kamala. If you think if you think this is a defense of Kamala Harris, you're a very, very stupid person, I will say. But I just want to show this to show what he's talking about.
We're not going back.
Okay, so that...
We're not going back.
Okay, so that... Yes. Of course, those are not nearly the same thing. That's why I said earlier, you can't just take a screenshot and base it on that. Well, that's pointing in the air and then opening your hands.
We're not going back.
Yeah, that's something completely different from so
They
brazenly
like going to the shoulder, throwing the
it's
salute.
Fucking textbook. It's the most obvious thing in the world.
Yes,
obviously.
So what I'm saying is Hitler is living in Elon's head rent free.
Right.
I don't think he went out there to do a Nazi salute. I think he likes the Nazis. I think he probably thinks about that shit a lot. I think he also likes to very, very much like a child. He likes to get everybody riled up by doing things that are going to upset them. And I think those impulses came together in that moment. And he threw a Nazi salute. That's my read of it.
Yes.
So Elon, a few hours afterwards, shared his own video of it without commenting on that. Interestingly, though, the version that he shared does not show the most glaring one. It only shows this one, where his back is to the audience, the second one. It does not show the front one. And finally, hey, this doesn't prove anything. We're not responsible for our ancestors. But this is an interesting bit of family history from Elon's father here.
Her parents came to South Africa from Canada because they sympathized with the Afrikaner government. They used to support Hitler and all that sort of stuff. But they didn't know, obviously, I don't think they knew what the Nazis were doing. But they in Canada, they were in the German party in Canada. And they sympathized with the Germans. So when the Afrikaners government came into power here in 1948, then May's father, who was quite an interesting guy, he was a very good pilot, he said he wants to be with the Afrikaners because he agrees with apartheid, you see. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And he came out here with his family.
And didn't that cause tension with you? Because you don't...
Yeah, that caused a lot of tension with me. And because I was a director of NUSAS, which was a National Union of South African Students, which is a very anti-apartheid body, you know. And I argued with them a lot. And they used to tell me, they used to be like rude to me, you know, and the parents. And then...
So he's talking about the parents of Elon's mother. He's talking about his father-in-law and mother-in-law here, I think.
Right.
Okay. I mean, and again, and his father was anti-apartheid, according to him. So that doesn't, prove, Elon's a Nazi. But, he's Nazi adjacent.
I mean, I'd say
he has some goose steppers in the family tree there.
I mean, he's a white South African. He's bragged repeatedly about plundering the natural resources.
Well, see, this is
we'll
coup who we want when we want.
Yeah, he acts as if DEI is the biggest problem facing society. I've never been for those kinds of programs for much different reasons than Elon Musk. I think any initiative like that divides workers ultimately serves capital. That's why I've always been, not in favor of those things. But that's not Elon's critique of them. He's pro-Israel. He's pro-AFD. I mean, come on. It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. The guy is a Western chauvinist, white supremacist. I mean, that's the most obvious thing in the world.
Yeah, and they had the private inaugural ball later, and this is what he said there.
I mean, it's pretty fucking obvious.
It got over. It got over.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, is it like you mentioned, like, obviously the libs are going to be cringe no matter what, right? If you walk on stage, you do a salute like that, you're going to take your lumps. I mean, that's just, that is politics. It's, all is fair in love and war. Exactly. Outraged
like you can't say it.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny more than anything else.
Right.
As a Jew, I think it's funny. How's that? As a Jew, I find it funny.
Right. Like our take, after I threw out the thing about virtue signaling, somebody said to me, "You're virtue signaling off your channel." I said, "No, we're clowning."
Right.
Virtue signaling is something else.
Right.
We're not clutching our breasts and saying, "Hold your community close, people." Oh my God. Like that. Come on, man. Like, is that even a mask off moment? I don't think so, because as you point out, Elon made his sympathies clear,
of course,
before that. Like, what difference does it really make?
Yeah.
That he did that. I mean, it's a sideshow. I thought the reaction to it was interesting because it just reflected so much the biases and propaganda intentions of these different camps in the way that they responded to it.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think it's a really, really entertaining story, which is why we spent some time on it, because it's so funny how that happened on Inauguration Day too.
Yeah. On day one. Like, there was something very Seinfeld about it,
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
He did a Nazi salute.
Yeah.
This is our first day in office.
Who's the guy in Seinfeld? O'Brien. O'Brien was the neo-Nazi that George gets mistaken for at the airport. Yep. Elon goes O'Brien. All right. Let's go to some super chats and Rumble rants here. Oh, look at this. 2,400 of you fine folks over in the YouTube chat. Let's go. Peter Monahan, thanks for the $5. So what do you think? I know it's a bit rough, but my first attempt at writing in 50 years. Any feedback would be great. Thank you for taking the time. I did read your poem that you emailed us, Peter. Thank you for sending it. Yeah, and I meant to write you back, but I wanted to wait till I had some more time to do it. I'll probably do it after the show. But very good. Very good. It was very personal. It was very political. It had some interesting religious questions as well. So yes, I enjoyed it very much, Peter. Thank you for sending it. Appreciate it. And I will write you back something more thorough this evening when I'm not scrambling for show prep. But thank you for sending that, and best wishes to you, my friend. Fellas sent an email, RE, any added help with the show? I'm in the pro wrestling podcast world and sent some samples. Hulk Hogan next in line for Doge. There you go. Thank you. We will take a look. We are looking to bring someone on board this year. We don't know if we're ready quite yet, but we are going to get there this year. That's our goal. Omar Bajrovich, thank you for the $5. Imagine how good you would look in open roof Tesla truck with that hand up high. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Gavin Hillock, I like this one. Musk is just a victim of poor planning and logistics. Thank you, Gavin Hillock. Appreciate that. Daniel Sophia, thanks for the 10 Canadian dollars. Appreciate that very much.
Well, that is. See, I didn't want to throw it in the segment because I didn't want to deal with it in the comments section. Like that's what a lot of people don't I think get about Daryl Cooper. Like David Duke says very similar stuff to what Daryl Cooper says about it being terrible that the blacks and Watts were overrun by Latinos. You got to understand the way these people think. Everyone should be in their separate enclaves. Right. Now you want to say that's not white supremacist. I mean, it kind of is, because when you push these people, they think everyone should be in their own place, partly so because whites are better and they should have their own thing away from all these people. But hey, fair is fair. Give them something and they can do their business over there while we have cathedrals, right? Like to say something like that a culture having another culture come in and integrate into their culture is the worst thing that can happen to a people. The worst thing that can happen to a people. Well, that tells you something about the person literally believes you're diluting the pure blood of the culture by meanwhile, if you got rid of everything that you have that is a result of cultural fusion, you'd be sitting on the ground with nothing. Like almost everything is the result of cultural fusion. Right.
Of course. Killer Hinton, going to the liquor store. Do you dirtbags need me to pick up anything for you? Sorry about the dirtbags. Thank you, Killer Hinton. Appreciate that. Elon was throwing the Romulan salute. He answers to a greater authority. I noticed all the YouTube channels that are covering this are calling it, nobody's calling it a Nazi salute because then they probably won't monetize your video. Roman salute. Weird salute. Bizarre salute. Strange salute. Yeah, in the titles, you'll see that all over the place. I am the owl. Ironic that Dem politicians call out Elon, yet they all voted to send $200 billion to neo-Nazi paramilitary groups in Ukraine. 2024, they literally authorized direct aid to Azov, right sector, Kraken, and more. That is true. That is absolutely true, for sure. AOC didn't tweet about that, though. Mad Wolf, pardon me. Elon's Heil at least look good doing it. What a goofy fuck. Yeah. Absolutely. Another trip for Elon to Auschwitz with Ben Shapiro. Yep, that's what Max Blumenthal tweeted. Absolutely. All right. Eric Rousseau, which is more Nazi? A Nazi salute or sending and funding actual Nazis in Ukraine? Yep, people made that point before, Eric, so thank you. Libs in 2023, Nazi salute? No, that was clearly a Ukrainian freedom wave. Yes, that's right. Ukrainian freedom wave. Thank you.
We have the best people. We really do.
Yes. I like Latimaro. Also, how a socially awkward person can have 5 wives, or how many Musk had. 2 requires people skills. That's right. That's absolutely true as well. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to bring in Ellin Jimmerson in just a moment, but I do want to give you guys a word from one of our dissident sponsors here, Stephen Cole, whose project is called Full Crazy Town. Full Crazy Town tries to walk the thin line between criticizing the Democrats while fending off accusations of being a MAGA front. The bottom line is it's probably too late to turn back the headlong charge into the New World Order, but perhaps we can mitigate the damage. The Workers' Strike Back movement and conference in February is a great place to start fighting back against the corporatists, authoritarians, oligarchs, establishment billionaires, and the Pentagon and the Zionists. Local actions such as citizen-based initiatives and specific ballot measures can affect real change. So we need to fight the power, otherwise we're being complicit with those in power. They count on our apathy. Trickle-down economics definitely does not work for anyone except the 1%, but percolate-up economics could help everyone, starting with the most disadvantaged people. By concentrating our efforts with the most desperate, we avoid having to choose between other groups in need of assistance, the identity politics groups that focus on cultural issues instead of economic ones. The starting point can be summarized by the slogan, healthcare, not warfare. If we had universal healthcare, a myriad of problems would rapidly fade. Better healthcare means more productive, happy people, not addicted to harmful substances or practices. Universal healthcare would also help reduce stress levels so that people could realize their potentials. Stephen Cole wrote a book and he has a podcast. I encourage you to check that out. Go to fullcrazytown.com where you can get the book. We just read half of it now, as well as the podcast. You can listen to that podcast, fullcrazytown.com. Thank you, Stephen. And everybody head over there, fullcrazytown.com, to check out Stephen Cole and support his work. Beautiful. All righty, folks. So we are going to move right on along now. We're going to welcome a very special guest. She is a friend of ours, a supporter of ours, who we got to know through doing this show. But she also is one of the most well-read journalists in America on the immigration topic. She made a great film called The Second Cooler, which is a documentary about mass migration and who benefits from mass migration. And so on the first full day of the new Trump era, can't think of a better guest to bring in for these next couple segments. Please welcome to the program, Ellin Jimmerson. Ellin, what's up?
Ellin!
Hey!
Yeah, you're cutting in on our act, man. Go to another room. We don't want the books behind you.
Yeah, now you got more books than most of us. Yeah.
I do read books. I just want to
go to the kitchen.
Rest. I want to put to rest any notion that I have a go-go background.
Yes.
I do not. However.
However. There's a however. Okay.
I am not unacquainted with pole dancing.
Really? See,
really?
Sometimes you take a stab in the dark and you hit something.
You were close. You were close.
There you go. See, he was onto something.
That was a very nice introduction. I appreciate that.
Oh, of course. Well, you.
Which one?
Yeah, which one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think she's talking about mine there. That was pretty good. I didn't even have that written down. I was just shooting.
That was off the top of your head.
No, off the top of my head. That's right. Do it live. Okay, so I really wanted you on for these segments because of everything that went viral yesterday, and there was a lot that went viral yesterday. I don't think anything went quite as viral as this, at least not on X. 36 million views for this tweet from a relatively obscure handle. This is Arelis R. Hernandez. She's a Washington Post reporter. Migrants in Ciudad Juarez who were waiting for their 1 p.m. CBP-1 parole appointments learned 20 minutes ago that the app has shut down and those appointments are no longer valid. So they are waiting to apply for asylum status, and this app was supposedly useful in helping schedule those first meetings. And after Trump took office, the app shut down. And so this is a video that, like I said, went as viral as anything else yesterday, which is a big statement considering it was Inauguration Day and she was up against the Elon Roman salute. $36 million on that. This was follow up on that thread. For clarification, every one of these folks submitted biometric, biographical, and other ID info to the U.S. government via app in order to enter the country legally through this Biden administration program that sought to cut illegals' entries. They had DHS sanctioned appointments set for today. And she wrote this article as well. So that was her video from On the Scene. Family waiting to cross border learns their CBP-1 appointment is canceled. Now, the personal anecdote that she starts here is of a different family. Riddell Jimenez arrived at the border bridge leading into Texas before dawn Monday with his wife and their infant daughter, hoping to be allowed into the United States after fleeing Cuba. They had waited 6 months in Mexico City for their appointment with U.S. immigration officials through CBP-1, the mobile app that the Biden administration launched and that President Donald Trump's team had vowed to eliminate. Moments after Trump was sworn in, Jimenez logged on to the app and saw a message that left him flummoxed. I'm surprised they didn't carve out an exception if you're a refugee from communism. I'm surprised they didn't keep that as an exception. You'd think that, maybe Trump would do that.
You would think so, yeah.
You would think they would, especially with Marco Rubio, their Secretary of State.
Yeah, I mean, that only applies if you're from a white communist country. We don't have any more of those.
And there are none of those left. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Existing appointments are no longer valid, it said. Other migrants gathered around him logged on to the app and received the same message. One woman sat down and began to weep beneath a fleece blanket. Another leaned against a pole, buried her face in gloved hands, and cried. Jimenez made a video call to his mother, anxiously awaiting news from Cuba. After everything we've done and gone through to get here, Jimenez lamented, if only I had the appointment for 3 hours earlier. As Trump took office, promising to immediately halt all illegal entry to the country, an increasingly desperate scene played out immediately across the border from El Paso in the city of Juarez, Mexico. Dozens of people arrived in the early morning hours Monday, lugging babies wrapped in blankets and the few belongings they had hoped to bring with them into the United States. Those with the earliest appointments were allowed in. But by early afternoon, migrants like Jimenez were getting messages first saying their appointments were being pushed back and then that they were no longer valid. Many of those with a CBP-1 appointment had waited for months, hoping to go through official legal pathways to cross into the United States at a port of entry, obtain humanitarian parole, and apply for asylum. In his inauguration address, Trump said he would declare a national emergency at the border and institute a policy requiring asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while their claims are reviewed. He did not specifically address CBP-1, but by early Monday afternoon, a message appeared on the app's website stating that effective immediately, the program was no longer available and existing appointments canceled. The CBP-1 appointment cancellations were among the first and most visible ramifications of Trump's new border policies. The app was initially used in the final months of the first Trump administration by truckers to schedule cargo inspections at the U.S. ports of entry. The Biden administration then expanded its use in 2023 as part of its efforts to reduce illegal border crossings while allowing immigrants to seek asylum protections on humanitarian grounds. More than 930 people have used the app to schedule appointments. Yeah, that's what I said, didn't I?
You said 930 people.
Oh, all right, 930,000.
That's quite a bit different.
Pardon me. 930,000 people have used the app to schedule appointments since it was rolled out for use by migrants, according to federal officials. The cancellations will affect about 30,000 people, according to two CPB officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss the change. So, in anticipation of articles like this being written about the cruel circumstances imposed on poor women like we just saw in the first video, Tom Homan, who is now overseeing the mass deportations, went recently on the Bunker Bros podcast to talk about how this wasn't going to work on him. I'm kidding. There's no Bunker Bros podcast. I made that up. I thought that was pretty good, though.
I mean, it was so good. I thought it was real.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. Well, here he is giving his side of things, and then we're going to toss to Ellin.
Hey, we're going to be sued every day, numerous times. I think you'll see the left try to control the media. They're going to show the first crying female, first crying child, and say how inhumane we are. But they won't talk about 340,000 children that they've failed to take care of. They're not going to talk about the young women who have been murdered in this country at the hands of criminal cartels. They're not going to talk about the hundreds of angel moms and dads who buried their children. You want to talk about family separation? They buried their children because their children were killed by a member of a criminal cartel or someone that's not supposed to be here. They'll tell one side of the story. They'll try to vilify us, but they're not going to stop us from doing our job. I don't care what the media says about me. If they saw what I saw in 34 years, saw the tragedies I've dealt with in 34 years, they would certainly understand me. They may not still like me, but there's a reason why we do what we do. Yeah. I'm tired of women being raped, making that journey. I'm tired of dead children. I'm tired of women and children being sex trafficked. On this administration, sex trafficking is up 600% of women and children. We have a record number of people on the terrorist watch list being arrested. Historic record, 3,500% increase. Record number of Americans dying of fentanyl. We got a record number of cartel members that have entered this country. You know, the criminal cartels in Mexico making more money than they've ever made in smuggling aliens, trafficking in women and children, and moving dope. So, hate all you want. Push the misinformation out all you want. We're not going to slow down. We're not going to go away. We're going to get this done.
Okay, so to put things simply, I think I'm summarizing this in a concise but accurate manner. What this story shows, starting with the viral video and then the subsequent write-up, is the sort of humanitarian cost of suspending this program as quickly as it was. But also, Homan there makes the point that the trip north poses a humanitarian danger as well. So part of why the reason I want you on for this is because you know this issue much, much better than we do. It's very complicated. I think it's a very big issue with a lot of small moving parts inside it. And so given those two things I showed you, what do you make of the CBP1 program and what Homan says in not in response, but I think that's kind of another perspective on the humanitarian crisis. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, of course, first of all, I am one of those angel mothers who buried a child, not figuratively, she was cremated, but, you know, because of an undocumented man who killed her with the involvement of a high-speed police chase. But the thing about the video of the crying mother and all is that when we say this program was suspended and we talk so much about it, it makes it press about the program would have you believe, and I think that woman believed, and this is what I said to you yesterday, Keaton. Yep. This is what Martin Luther King Jr. called the cruel manipulation of the poor. I think when people were getting those appointments, they thought that would automatically lead to asylum. Mm-hmm. And if the woman's claim, as I read elsewhere, was that she just wanted to be reunited with her son, that would not have qualified her for asylum. Like everything else with immigration, you've got to fit into a few very narrowly defined boxes. So to get asylum, you have to prove you've been persecuted. That doesn't mean that you've been targeted by gangs or that your children have been targeted by gangs. That means that you've been persecuted because of your religion, because of your membership in a group, because of your religion, because of your political point of view. There are like 5 things only, and being reunited with your family is not one of them. And so I think that, and of course they especially targeted people from Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Haiti. Mm-hmm. And I would suspect, and one of the criticisms that was raised early on of the CBP1 program is that you've got people who are not sophisticated. They don't understand these things. In fact, I mean, we all know people who are very sophisticated, very suspicious of the government, all of those kinds of things, and can't wrap their heads around immigration. It's designed to be opaque. It's designed to be something that you can't readily understand or apprehend. And so to me, when I saw that woman, and she looked like she might be indigenous, she's from Venezuela. My guess is that she thought just having the appointment would mean that she would get what she wanted from the system, that she would get asylum and she could be reunited with her son. I doubt that was the case. And of course, I don't I don't know what her situation was, and I wasn't able to really pick up on all of that from what I did read about her. But this is not unusual. You know, I mean, if humanitarian reasons could give people asylum, there would not be thousands upon thousands of U.S. citizen women living in exile with their U.S. citizen children in order to be with their husbands and fathers, and sometimes mothers. The family situation, it just, I mean, of course, they're going to put out these programs that say, oh, we really hear you and we're really going to try to tackle it and we're going to take care of you, like Biden's proposed parole in place of a few months ago, which I told you then, I think I told you, I told other people that I was quite suspicious of, and it didn't last. It was, you know, repealed. The thing about the CBP1 and all these other programs is to even get into it, you've got to turn yourself in. You've got to provide the United States government with biometrics, with a photograph, and of course you've got to have a cell phone, which means you can be tracked through GPS. And all of this for a status you very likely won't get. It's very difficult to prove that that you're being, you know, that you would fit into one of these categories.
Okay, well, so that's a super important point. If I could just get this in real quick, because this goes to the rest of my exhibit here. You said in order to, you know, going through this CBP1 app, creating an appointment online means essentially turning yourself in. Right, because you're volunteering all this information about who you are. Now, you're saying in this case, this woman was desperate to get into the country to reunite with her child. Okay, so if she wanted to do things illegally, she would just go somewhere that is not a port of entry and try and sneak through, right? The reason she's here doing this...
Even that was legal.
No,
for a long time.
Well, right, sure.
You could ask for asylum anywhere and at any time. So to say that she was entering illegally, she would have entered without inspection.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if she didn't want to go through the process, if she didn't want to risk being turned down, and she wanted to simply sneak in, that's what she would have done. To volunteer herself into the system like this is to go out of her way to do it the legal way, the on-the-books way, at great risk to herself, because there's a good chance, as you just said, that she won't be turned in. But that's not what Benny Johnson would have you think, right? So Benny Johnson, sorry, go ahead.
No, you said that she won't be turned in. I think you meant to say that she would not
be let in.
Asylum.
Right, she won't be let in. Pardon me. That was my bad. Yes, thank you for catching that. Good thing I have you and Russ here to catch all my mistakes today. But if you look at a guy like this, Benny Johnson, huge account, huge MAGA influencer, says, he quote tweets this video. He says, breaking, criminal aliens are in tears after learning their attempts to enter the country have been blocked following Trump's shutdown of the CBP1 app. So that is just, of course, a blatant lie.
Yeah.
That this is a criminal alien. And we're going to talk about it's just total bullshit. 4.2 million views for this absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
And we're going to, and this will come into play again when we talk about the Laken Riley Act, because they're going to play all kinds of word games with what constitutes a criminal alien, right? He's saying this is a criminal alien. This is someone who's going out of their way to turn themselves in and probably be sent back home. So that's the opposite of a criminal alien. And some of his followers, to their credit, called him out on this. You need to also have a heart and understand that some of these people are legit escaping Mexican cartels and Venezuela's communist dictatorship. See, so that's a MAGA account that's calling him out on this, and can't file the paperwork to get here, which is, again, this is wrong. They should do vetting and let some people in. I'm sure it's possible to get good people in. So that account doesn't even have the full story, but they have the basic humanity to understand that this is not a criminal alien. That's highly unfair to say. That poor woman was probably praying for this moment, where I agree we can't just let people unchecked come in. We also have to understand the plight many people are experiencing. Again, she's not doing it unchecked. She's going through the system that was set up. Now, if you want to make the argument that system shouldn't exist, okay, you can do that. That's more an anti-immigration argument than simply an anti-illegal immigration argument. And then you have the total morons who buy it hook, line, and sinker, like Molly Pitcher. Well, maybe they should have came over here through the legal points of entry. Bye. Moron. What do you think she's doing there? Like, why do you think she was going through the app? That is a point of entry. You're literally making an appointment to see an official to have your case heard. KSA, I'm sorry, but there is a legal process she and all immigrants can take to gain entry to America. Breaking and entering is unlawful. Again, the ignorance is just astounding. There are also other countries in Latin America she could turn to for a brighter future. Yeah, which ones? That's a pretty short list of ones that we have not sabotaged. So I make that point because I feel like over the course of the campaign, and, you know, we had you and Todd Miller on to show your film about a month or so back. You know, the rhetoric around this was just all one way because the Democratic Party really ceded this issue to Trump. And it seems to me like this whole immigration issue is just designed to ratchet people over to the right. Because if you're the ruling elite class, what do? You rig the economic system so that 99% of people are having to run this gauntlet against each other, competing for scraps. Of those 99%, 37 of them do okay. They can buy a house, they can have a decent life, so they tend to vote the way they want them to. And then the remaining 62%, that's the working class who can't afford a $500 sudden payment if it comes up, right? What do they say with that Forbes article? 62% cannot come up with $500 at a pinch. So, of course, those people are going to be resentful of immigrants when they perceive immigrants to be accessing certain privileges that they don't have access to, like in California, where they expanded immigrant health care for 700,000 people, while you got ordinary people getting hosed by their private insurance companies. Right. So, like, it's an issue that is just so designed to create this permanent ratchet effect rightward, because to really fix it would require upending imperialism and capitalism. And even if we did that, it would take decades before we see the benefits of that. Meanwhile, you have all these very small, short-term problems that affect the day-to-day lives and needs of working people. What are they going to do? They're, of course, in the short term, going to turn on the immigrant, right? Because they see them as the most immediate threat to their day-to-day well-being. So what is the way out? It seems impossible. I never have an answer on this issue, and this is why.
Well, another real problem is that liberals and Democrats pushed back with stupid arguments. They only take jobs you don't want. Right. You're just afraid of change. Right. You're a racist.
Yep.
And that was
I have been saying for as long as we have had a show, this was going to happen. Not just here in Europe. We did an episode way back. We're a very small channel on this subject where I said, if the left does not formulate an answer to people's legitimate concerns about immigration that don't involve accusing them of being ignorant racists, you are going to empower a right wing that is going to come up with solutions that you're really not going to like. And here we are.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Was there a question?
No. Go ahead. I was just saying, what's the way out? Like what?
Oh, the way out.
Yeah. And you started talking about how the liberals have made stupid arguments, which of course I think is absolutely correct that they have. But go ahead. Did you have anything else?
Yeah. I mean, that was actually an aside. The way out is to understand the system and to tell the truth. And to address neoliberalism, capitalism, imperialism, however you want to look at it. East Palestine should not have happened. All of these things should not be happening.
Well, but you did a whole movie partly, talking about the horrors of these people crossing the desert to come here and the horrible things that happen to them. Now, it's basically what Tom Homan was saying. I don't like to assume unless there's good evidence that somebody has bad motives. I don't think Homan is not. I don't think he's lying. Yeah, man. I think he thinks the solution to some of the horrible things that I don't think he hates these people. I think he does feel morally justified. Like, hey, man, it's better for them. That if you'd seen the things that I've seen, you'd want to stop these people from being motivated to come here too. And the best way to do that is to make it clear you're not getting in. So just don't even try. And then you're not going to have all these people getting trafficked through the border. Right. Now, what do you say to that?
That only increases that problem of people being trafficked. I mean, that's what the H-1B and the H-2 programs are, is human trafficking. And then you get into a situation where in order to come to access a job that they need or to reunite with family, they've got to come through the desert, come through the Rio Grande, go out into the Pacific, hire a guide. And I mean, the stories of women either being raped and boys too. I've talked to children in shelters, and they may not say they were sexually abused, but they would say that they were hurt by Border Patrol agents. And the ACLU did a report about the treatment of children in custody of Border Patrol in Obama's first administration. 30,000 pages of documents, horrendous threats, sexual abuse, threatening to put them back out on the Rio Grande and let them die, putting them in what they called refrigerators, all of these things. So everything they do, when they say they want it to stop because it's bad for the people coming, first of all, we've got to stop doing the things we're doing that forces people to leave in the first place, which is overthrowing democratically elected governments.
Well, this would be one of my answers to a lot of these conservatives. Like, why are we sanctioning Venezuela? Why? Oh, well, their government's bad. What business say that's true? What does that have to do with us? Do you think we're going to be invaded by Venezuela? Is it a threat to us if their government is something you don't like? Why is that our business?
When they
Isn't
say
that
the
the
government's
Venezuelans'
bad,
business?
well,
Like,
when
if
they
you
say
think
that-
it's bad, what does that have to do with you? Why are we bothering these people? Why are we sanctioning them? Leave them alone.
Yeah, and the last time I went to the border with a cinematographer, I went over into Nogales to a shelter I've been to before, and for women, and most of the women there were either Cuban or Venezuelan. They were not, and what they were telling us is that they're going to
countries we sanction.
Yeah, exactly. So we do that. We overthrow democratically elected governments like Allende and Zelaya in Honduras. And so all of those things. And then, they're carving out these corporate cities where they're displacing people from their land and so forth. So it can be, gosh, I forget what they're called, but they're politically independent within Nicaragua, Haiti, and these various places.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really a throwback to like the Dutch East India Company, where they would go and set up literally a corporate. That's what New Amsterdam was.
Yeah,
it was a corporate colony,
like Wilmington, Delaware.
And they call them something. I was thinking maybe I sent y'all something to read about that once, but I know everybody's sending you stuff all the time, and you can't always look at it. But yeah, and these, of course, are just being touted as these wonderful investments in these countries, but we know they're not investments in the countries. They're investment in the corporations.
Well, you have Donald Trump. We showed you this video when you and Todd Miller came on. Donald Trump talking about how the Venezuelans haven't been behaving well. They have to behave.
Yeah.
So you're putting. So if Holman, all right, let's assume. Let's give Holman the benefit of the doubt. That,
Now, I don't know who Holman is. Who is he?
He's overseeing the mass deportation. I don't know what his official title is, but that's this guy.
Okay.
He's the, deporter in chief. I don't know what his official title is within the government, but
okay.
He's heading that up.
Put him in charge of ICE, or
I forget what it is.
I'll look it up. You go.
On. But let's assume that he means people well, and that he thinks that deterrence is humanitarian, right? Okay. Well, if
borders are.
Borders are okay. There you go. So basically, what I said, borders are basically doing like Doge of the border, the Doge border guy. So let's say his intentions are good and that he means well. You have Donald Trump there insisting Venezuela behave. You don't seem to be opening up the door to diplomacy. Certainly, Marco Rubio as Secretary of State is not a good sign that we're going to start recognizing the autonomy of Venezuela and opening up their path to self-determination. I could be wrong, obviously. It's day 2 of the administration. I hope I am, but I don't think so. So the point is, if you want a militarized border, which is what these MAGA people want, but you also want to dominate Venezuela, then what you are an imperialist who believes that our rightful place as Americans is with our boots on the neck of the Venezuelan people, because you're offering them no option. You're telling them we are going to make your home hell, and we're going to line up a bunch of armed guards on our border so you can't come here. So what is that? That is just naked imperialism. There's no other word for it. It's not isolationist. It's certainly not anti-establishment, right? That is just an imperial mindset. And so what option at that point do you give people? We want these countries to be colonies, basically, and plantations for American corporations. That's what Cuba was pre-Castro, right? That's what we want Venezuela to be, because the reason we consider Venezuela's government bad is because they want a fair price for their oil, right? And so that's what it comes down to. And I think even if you were to implement a solution, quote unquote, it would take so much time before you actually see the fruits of that in the meantime, we're just going to have a right.
I don't know. Look, if tomorrow we lifted all sanctions on Venezuela and Cuba, I don't know how long it would take to see. I'm not saying it would completely solve the problem.
Right.
I think it would make an enormous difference, because most people don't like to leave where they're from.
No,
when I go back to my old neighborhood, if I go into a bar in the old neighborhood, there are people I knew in first grade in that bar. Most people will stay where they're from.
Yeah. I'm
a European citizen. I could have moved to Europe and worked in Europe and lived in Europe. I don't even like America, but I live here. You know what I mean? I don't even really like this country, and I'm not moving. What am I going to move? What? It's where I'm from. It's my home. So So I think you're right. I think it's just a question of how soon would we see the impact of that? Hopefully sooner than later, obviously.
I mean, that is the left argument. I've always thought it should be built around anti-imperialism. But to tell working people that, hey, no, I was in an industry that got destroyed by illegal immigration. I've had friends who were in construction that got destroyed by illegal immigration. You cannot, piss on people's legs and tell them it's raining and then not expect a politician to capitalize on the fact that you lied to them. It is true that a lot of people, particularly in more lower class, working class jobs, wind up having their wages and their job opportunities brought down by illegal immigration. You cannot just tell those people, well, no, that's not happening. You're a racist. I'm not a racist. It happened to me.
Right. But it's being brought down by the capitalist system,
right,
that displaces people to begin with, and then the employer.
Well, that's why I say that's the argument you have to make. These people are not coming here for no reason.
Yeah,
they would stay where they're from if we stop messing with them.
And when we talk about workers and worker solidarity, as the union man said in the second cooler, they work so hard to reach an agreement of what it is they want, and then they go into negotiations, and it means nothing because there's an endless supply of people who will do any job under any conditions for any pay.
Yep.
And
when I was in New Orleans last winter, we showed a few clips of this. There was a Latino gentleman who he was the leader of an organization of people they had brought in from South and Central America to rebuild after Katrina.
Yeah.
And he was explaining, we didn't know they brought us in to displace the black workers, that they had to pay more.
Yeah.
We were just put in this situation and we didn't realize that we were having that economic impact. We didn't understand everything at play there. They were just exploiting us. And they said, and then they wouldn't even pay us what they said they were going to pay us.
Right. Yeah.
Well, also, I think if you took the, imperial boot off the neck of these other countries, downstream of all that, what you could actually afford to have? A more liberal immigration system, because there'd be way fewer people trying to come. So you can let more people in, right? You wouldn't have tens of millions of people trying to knock down the door, right? You would have very few people trying to come in if you just allowed for these countries to become more livable. But we don't seem to want to do that. We seem to want to trap people where they are, which is what this is a form of. If you're saying we have to keep our boot on Venezuela's neck, but the people can't come here, well, then, you are perpetuating the problem at that point. You're not solving it.
And
not in any way that shows any concern whatsoever for the lives of these people.
Right. And one of the points that Todd Miller has made so well with the book that I was promoting last time, Empire of Borders, is that, as he says, the United States' southern border is in Peru. Because we have exported one of our primary exports is Border Patrol. And we're hardening these borders with not just advisors, but with a physical presence, and we've got those borders in Haiti, they're everywhere, Africa, everywhere. And it's our physical presence that is the expansion of our empire, which is locking people in, as you say, Keaton, and it's making it very difficult for people to move legally, but capital and product are moving legally. It's unrestricted.
All right. Well, we got one more segment that we want to do with you because I want to lose a few more subscribers this afternoon. Not done yet. Not done yet. No, I do want to set this up, obviously. So the Senate passes the Laken Riley Act in first move after Trump inauguration. So this was yesterday, just after Trump took the oath of office. The Senate passed with a pretty overwhelming majority the Laken Riley Act. The Senate on Monday passed the Laken Riley Act, making the immigration-related bill the first piece of legislation to make it through the upper chamber in the new Congress and putting it a step closer to being signed into law by President Trump. Senators voted 64-35 on the bill. 12 Democrats voted with every Republican. The legislation, which mandates the federal detention of immigrants without legal status who were accused of theft and burglary, among other things, was a priority for Republicans after immigration emerged as a signature issue for Trump and an effective cudgel against Democrats in November. This legislation will ensure that illegal aliens who steal or assault a law enforcement officer are detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement instead of being allowed on the streets, Senate Majority Leader John Thune said on the floor ahead of the vote. I'm looking forward to getting this to the president's desk. Democrats who voted in the affirmative included. And the reason I'm reading all of these is something that I'll point out after, but it'll probably be apparent to most of you. Senators John Fetterman, Ruben Gallego, Maggie Hassan, Mark Kelly, John Ossoff, Raphael Warnock, Gary Peters, Jackie Rosen, Catherine Cortez Masto, Jean Shaheen, Elissa Slotkin, and Mark Warner. Well, you look at those states: Pennsylvania, Arizona, New Hampshire, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Virginia, all swing states. All swing states. The only one you could plausibly argue is not a swing state is Virginia, but that was closer than expected this year, and given the trajectory that the Democratic Party's on, could certainly be in play next time. The swing state Democrats were terrified to vote against this, and it argues later in the article, I'm not going to read this part, that really hamstrung the majority of the caucus's negotiating power, because the Democrats were trying to make amendments to this bill, but the swing staters were like, no, we're voting for it. We cannot afford to vote against this. So we'll get more into that in a moment. The bill is named after Laken Riley, a college student who was killed almost a year ago in Athens, Georgia, by a Venezuelan migrant who had been arrested for shoplifting ahead of the attack and paroled in the U.S. Final passage came after more than a week of work dedicated to the bill on the Senate floor. Democrats, still smarting from their defeat at the ballot box, twice voted overwhelmingly to open a debate on the measure in the hopes of amending it. But they were largely left empty-handed, as the chamber only voted on 3 amendments and only adopted 2. The chamber last week approved a proposal from John Cornyn of Texas to add the assault of a law enforcement officer to the list of offenses that would lead to detainment. And prior to final passage on Monday, Senator Joni Ernst, a Republican from Iowa's amendment known as Sarah's Law, was approved in a 75-24 vote. The item expands the bill to include the detainment of migrants without legal status charged with crimes causing death or serious bodily injury. The Ernst proposal is named after Sarah Root, who was killed in a 2016 car crash that involved a migrant without legal status who proceeded to post bond and flee the U.S. The only Democratic amendment considered would have cut out part of the bill that hands state attorneys general authority to sue federal immigration officials over detentions. On top of the increased power given to state attorneys general, Democrats were also worried about the provision allowing Immigration and Customs Enforcement to detain migrants upon arrest rather than conviction, and the cost of the proposal. So you... once again, I know you said this in the first segment, but we're going to clip this separately. You are an angel mom. Do you want to explain what that is? Because obviously the Ernst proposal is named after Sarah Root, who died similarly tragically to your daughter, apparently.
Yeah, an angel mom is just, her father is are the parents of children who've been killed by undocumented people.
Right. And your daughter was killed in a high-speed, the migrant was in a high-speed chase with the cops when he ran into the car that your daughter and her boyfriend were in.
Right.
So, obviously, you have the authority to speak about this that very few people do. Your thoughts on the Laken Riley Act?
Well, I think it's terrible. You know, it's just, I understand the emotion, you know, of course, but just going after people because they lifted a pot of fake flowers off of somebody's porch or, you know, whatever.
Allegedly. That's the other thing.
Allegedly. And, you know, there's no charge. There's no, it's just so cynical, so pointless. And what gets to me is how politicians take advantage of that for their own miserable political purposes. For example, Mo Brooks did this same kind of thing in the House, the United States House, when he was, I don't know what he was going for specifically, but he talked about Tad and Leanna, and he knew better than to say Leanna's name or show her picture, but he showed Tad's picture, you know, and this is what happens when we have all of these, you know, aliens it's dangerous to good people. Well, Mo Brooks, I lived in his district, and when Ted and Leanna were killed, I can assure you he never came to the house. He didn't send a note. He didn't do anything like that. It was so when he goes up in the house in the Capitol, I mean, it's just he didn't care about Tad and Leanna or us. He cared about his own miserable political career.
Which is what? So what do you think the end is here? Because it's interesting to me that an amendment was added to basically put in the bill the death or bodily injury, which of course Laken Riley, who the bill is named after, was murdered. She was killed. You would have think that would not have been an amendment. You'd have think that had been in the original text.
And of course they're already, I mean, if they can catch them, they can try them and punish them.
Well, this is the thing. Okay, so yeah.
So this is, so to be clear, this is essentially the effect of the bill is you can be deported without trial, right? Because I think you say to most people, well, they're going to deport people who have committed crimes, and if people understand the bill that way, they say, well, of course, that's common sense. I mean,
I've migrant advocates, even advocates of color, have said the same thing to me. Well, they need to be deported if we did this, that, or the other.
Well, of course. I mean, it would hurt. Right. I mean,
that's what Obama was talking about too. Felons, not families.
Right.
The problem is felons have families, and felon, that covers it's not just somebody who is stalked and murdered. I mean, if it's not a misdemeanor, it's a felony.
Well, I want to show this because this is all over X right now, right? I mean, a lot of the MAGA accounts are very gleefully posting this. Report illegal aliens, whether they came from up in the sky or down at the southern border. So now there's basically, a deportation hotline that's being posted around. And what is to stop people from calling and saying, hey, this guy tried to steal my car, right? I mean, if you could be deported, if you could be detained and deported based on an accusation, that is quite the precedent to set, I think. Now, of course, their defense would be, if they're not supposed to be here, fuck them. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. Like, ultimately, all of the arguments kind of lead back to that when you're dealing with
that's been around for a while.
Of course,
this didn't start yesterday with Trump.
Absolutely,
ICE has had a way to report people for a long time. But one of the things I think I said to you, Keaton, when we were talking yesterday, is this is the same rationale as the federal policy of funneling immigrants to their deaths, with the intention being migrant deaths, that came about in 1994. Doris Meisner, who was Clinton's, it wasn't the Department of Homeland Security then, but she was the czar then, and he signed it. And it says right there in that document, the Southwestern Border Strategy is to shut off the urban areas, which are the safest areas where people could cross, and funnel them into, at that time, the Sonoran Desert, where they would die of either the heat or the cold. And of course, these are people, they haven't been charged with anything. They haven't even been charged with crossing a border illegally. They've been charged with nothing. They've had no jury. They've had no judge. They've had no sentence. They're just funneled in there. And that was the intention. The intention was that they would die, then word would get back to the sending communities, and people would stop trying to cross. And of course, that didn't happen.
Well, I mean, as we learned in Gaza, you think you can beat people into submission by subjecting them to real brutality, and it doesn't work. right? Life finds a way, as they say, right? There's a will to do something. If there's people who are desperate enough, will do anything to get out of that situation. In keeping with what you just said, the title of your film is The Second Cooler, which has a very morbid connotation. Do you want to explain what that is? Because that relates to what you're saying.
Yeah, I originally had another title for the movie, but when I went out to Arizona to interview the medical examiner in Tucson, he was showing me around and explaining things to me, and he said, "This is the second cooler," and it was a second morgue refrigerator that Pima County, Arizona, had to install to house the bodies of migrants that they were pulling from the desert. And of course, I have the video of the interior of the morgue with the people in the body bags, and so that was back in. The first time I filmed him was 2008 when he said that. So that goes way back, and then we filmed again in 2011. But that's what it refers to, is this morgue refrigerator. And when people talk about the statistics of people who have died or people who have crossed, all of this is vastly underreported, because Pima County, the medical examiner, Border Patrol only reports figures for the remains that they come across. If they die on somebody's ranch and the rancher finds them, that doesn't factor into their figures.
Mm-hmm.
So they can say there have been so many thousands who have died, but it's probably 3 or 4 times that.
Wow.
And the same with apprehensions. The only way you can measure apprehensions is by Border Patrol numbers.
Yeah.
What really struck me with the footage of the woman crying, whatever you think about this issue, man, if you ever been up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, and if you're American, even if you have had that experience, you probably never had it to that level. That's what I saw there, man. I was like, this woman is up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. And anyone who's experienced that in a lesser way, you should be able to empathize just as a human.
Just as
like
a human
what
being.
that moment is like, to find out, oh man, I just got kicked back down the slide. Man.
And she could come from Venezuela.
Yeah, we can
far is
debate
that?
these issues like, hey,
Even Mexico is 1,000 miles.
well, I mean, I live in a city that was really built by immigrants, like literally built by people who made those kinds of journeys. And as Americans, we celebrate it, right? We're supposed to celebrate it. So, hey, I as I said, man, I was in an industry that got ruined for the workers by illegal immigration. I'm sympathetic to those things, but the solution is not to celebrate, oh, look at the illegal alien going back. I mean, that's horrible, especially so not everybody, but so many people in that camp consider themselves Christians. And Ellin, you're ordained. You probably know the exact quote. There's a quote in the Bible about being kind to the immigrant.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible about being kind to people, and but mostly understanding that this is my take on the entire Bible. The kingdom of heaven and the national security state will never intersect. You got to keep Caesar, the pharaohs, the kings separate from
Cash Patel is going to be very upset to hear that.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. just so we understand, because we're going to clip this separately. I just want to I'll play very briefly. This is the viral video that Russ was referencing that went viral yesterday on Inauguration Day, of the woman realizing that her asylum appointment had been canceled. So that's what we're referencing. And for timing's sake, I cut these tweets out of the first segment. But now that you mentioned the total lack of empathy from so much of the country, I'll show them now. Give them a T-shirt and send them home. I guess they should have known the gravy train was over. Those people also need to be rounded up and sent back to their homes. And it's illegal. Pack it up. Again, this was a person coming through a point of entry on an app, turning
Legally,
herself in,
yeah.
volunteering information about herself so that she can apply for asylum the legal way. Fuck off, we're full. Nice people here, right? Good Christians here. Logan Hall, this is exactly what I voted for. Well, there you have it. I mean, it doesn't get any more explicit than that. I'm a Latino. Good for you. I'm a Latino American, and I can't even describe how little I care. America is full, and we're under new management. Be sure to tell your friends. Our first crying illegal. MSM, don't you go changing. So, yeah, that's, and look, thanks in large part. Sorry, go ahead, Ellen.
Latinos who have been here, or the Mexican Americans, are some of the worst. The worst.
In terms of immigration?
In terms of immigration. I came legally. We were not illegals. We came legally. We did it the right way. They can do it. You know, I was just wretched excuses for human beings.
Well, again, what I would say, I would slightly push back on that only because I understand the working class experience of feeling such neglect.
I'm not talking about working class people.
You're talking about people who came and pulled the ladder behind them. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
That woman to me looked to be indigenous.
And you just look at that, man. Like, come on, man. If you ever been in a place where you're out of money, you're out of options, and you have no idea what you're gonna do, you can empathize with that woman. I think too many people have not been there.
Well, also, what if you're a Cuban refugee and you get here and you can't come in? Then where do you go? You can't go back to Cuba.
Right.
They won't let you back in because you weren't allowed to leave in the
what
first
happens is, and this is what was at least suggested to me on my last trip when I went to Nogales and talked to the Venezuelan and Cuban women and to the women running the shelter there, is that what happens is they can't go back, and they realize what they're getting into by trying to cross, and so they just end up in the maquilas.
What's that?
The maquiladoras, the U.S.-owned plants at the border, where they're paid $5 a day, can't take restroom breaks, those kinds of things.
So sweatshops, basically.
Sweatshops, yeah.
I see.
And where they, there are a lot of them down there.
Yeah, I just want to make one more point before we wrap and get your take on this, because, when you see stuff like this, these kinds of responses, I think so largely because of the fecklessness and the dishonesty of the Democratic Party since the rise of Trump, this has now become the center of the issue.
Right.
Like, this take is the center now. This is not even like a controversial take. Like, this is what the Democrats basically think now. They've basically ceded on this issue. They've punted entirely, given the ball entirely to Trump, which is why I think it was important to do these two segments and give this as much time as we did today, because this is the second Trump term, and this kind of shit is now just baked into the ethos of the country because the Democrats have completely forfeited the Laken Riley Act. I mean, they couldn't
forfeited everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, man, I'm gonna. You want to talk about doing a head spin on the audience? I want to do something about the trans backlash, which I don't want to erase the existence of trans people. I've been warning for years that's what would happen if you kept pushing this very bizarre activism on people, that you're going to empower people who go so far in the other direction. You're going to set back that movement decades. That's exactly what happened. I never wanted.
Yes.
I've spoken out about that, partly so that we would never get a day when you have a president announce that there are only two sexes. I mean, there are biologically, but he means something beyond that.
Well, he said
Yeah.
genders. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Did he literally say genders? Or-
Yeah, no, he said
Yeah,
genders.
I think he actually
yes,
said
that's a
sexes,
philosophical
and people are
question.
reporting
I've
that
always
it's a gender.
conceded that as philosophical. That's
Yeah.
a philosophical
Well,
question.
he doesn't know what he's talking about anyway.
It's like guessing how many M&Ms are in the jar, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
I get all messed up. when I-
Even Confucius could not come to a conclusion about that.
Exactly. Your hair looks fine, Ellen. That's why. What do you think? I mean, you're talking to me here. Yeah, exactly.
But you're backwards.
Am
you
I?
know? I am.
Oh,
I
right,
look
because
at
it's
it
the
and I
mirror
see my
image.
hair
Yeah, it takes a
standing
little
up.
adjustment. Takes a little adjustment because the cameras are
It's a
mirrored.
mirror image
exactly.
or something. Anyway.
All right. Well, Ellen's film is called The Second Cooler. You can put that into YouTube. We did a screening of that about a month ago. It's in our live stream catalog, but it's also on Ellen's channel, The Second Cooler. So look that up. And you can subscribe to Ellen's Substack, ellen.substack.com. Both are worth checking out. Ellen,
thank you.
So
Thank
great
you
to
so
have you
much.
today. I'm so glad. I couldn't imagine doing the show without you this afternoon.
Oh,
So thank you so much for
I
being here.
appreciate it.
All righty. Have a great day.
You too.
All right.
Y'all too.
Bye-bye. All right, Ellin Jimmerson. There you go. I'm so glad we could make that happen this afternoon.
She's still on screen, you know.
No, she's not.
She was.
Oh, did I accidentally let her back in? I must have hit something.
I mean, you
by
left her on, yeah. Yeah, it was like when on the local news they don't cut to the commercial.
Oh, they don't. Oh, I thought I hit the
Yeah,
button. Maybe
yeah.
I hit the wrong button. All right, I must have hit the wrong thing.
You are batting 1,000 today. What's going on, man? That kid keep you up late?
No, actually, I did get a decent amount of sleep last night, but yeah, I must have hit the wrong button.
You put on the breastfeeding harness and
yeah, my Pete Buttigieg
Yeah.
breastfeeding harness. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Posmo, thanks for the $5. Thoughts on Biden making Jews group eligible for federal affirmative action loans and set aside contracts meant for poor, underrepresented minority businesses. When did that happen? I didn't even see that. I missed that one. I honestly, I mean, it couldn't have happened today because he's not the president anymore. So I must have missed that a few days ago. So I would have to look into that further. As for the affirmative action, hey, we'll take it. You want to give us it? You want to give us the affirmative action? We'll take the affirmative action. We're going to say no.
With this,
what, are we going to say no?
This was not one of my official predictions, I don't think. But I definitely said at some point, I don't think Biden's going to live out the year. I really don't.
You said, okay, so your official prediction was that he'll be diagnosed with something, formally diagnosed.
That was
with a
my
condition.
official, right?
Now you're
yeah.
saying he's gonna
unofficially, I don't think he's going to live out the year.
Unofficially, I think he's going to
look, we had someone here who announced that they unsubbed. Nothing says micro penis like feeling the need to announce that you unsubbed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Look,
I mean, just do it. Like, who
just do it? Yeah.
Who cares?
Who
like,
cares?
What do you
Fine.
think people care? Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to claim some kind of like personal power in the world that you don't actually have in real life by announcing that? It's not going to make you more powerful, man.
That was one of Trump's executive orders yesterday. He signed 200 of them, and one of them
He
was
unsubbed the due dissidents.
No. One of his executive orders is that all dicks are normal size now. There's no such thing as small. There's no such thing as large. Every dick is normal size. Yeah, that's the law of the land now. I'll have you know.
That's now, yes.
Yeah, that's now the law. Yes. That's not a matter of opinion. Shotgun Justice, thanks for the £5. Elon has mainstreamed Chan culture and subsequently made it boring and passé. What just happened?
Yeah. Look. Trump. We have it on good authority that Trump is a subscriber.
Dissident.
Yeah, I'm a dissident. Yeah, that's right.
There you go. It's good enough for him.
From rebellion to established order. Yeah, so good point, Shotgun. So Shotgun says Elon has mainstreamed Chan culture and subsequently made it boring and passé. From rebellion to established order. Yes, that's what it is. It's all about putting a cool sort of paint job on what are pretty much Reagan ideas.
Reagan,
right?
They're all just Reagan Republicans with a tech bro makeover.
Right. Exactly. All right. Elon's father, Posmo, supported the ANC and the end of apartheid. The right thinks he's a Trojan horse for it. Captain Teebs, thanks for the $4.99. Yo, it's the bad guy from Lethal Weapon 2. Who's the dickhead now, eh? Thank you for that. I like that. Good reference. Good call out. RBGH fam. Maybe if Elon had a Ukraine Azov pin, You would have gotten away with it. Yep. Good point. Good point. Nina can't. No quick fix. Americans are used to instant gratification, so any fix will take a decade at least. Only if it is a fix without a hitch. So don't hold our breath.
Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kenman G says, don't forget that Israel tried to arm South Africa with nuclear weapons when it was an apartheid state. Ethno-states stick together. Yep. Absolutely. M. Sambo, thanks for the $20. It's very generous of you. I appreciate Ellen's knowledge on this complex subject and for DD tackling the topic. Well, thank you. Just last week, there was a raid by the California Border Patrol on farm workers in Bakersfield, California. Interesting. We will have to look into that. Thank you for that. Eric Rousseau, I want to know if we were deporting the illegal space aliens sneaking into New Jersey. Yes. Some people were confused by the reference, whether they were coming in from the sky. That's what the guy meant. Alien, right? Brilliant guy. Regarding the question of Musk and autism, says Kenman, autism rates have increased because of overdiagnosis. Not every nerd or socially awkward person has a disorder. Musk and supporters are using it as a crutch. I've heard people make that argument, and I think that's
everyone's fucking
neurodivergent
now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Eric Rousseau, book recommendation, Louis Uria, Across the Wire, Life in Hard Times on the Mexican Border. Thank you for that. I'm looking to do more stuff about that because it is it's a very nuanced topic, as we showed you there, right? Like, there's not an easy take on that topic. There's no take. You can't give a take on immigration in 2 minutes. It's a lot more complicated than that. Okay. All right. Where are we? What the hell else we got to do today? Oh yeah. Trump saying, never mind about that ceasefire.
Working out, baby. Working out.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're cooking.
So that ceasefire we were all excited about, Trump apparently said, it's probably not going to work. When Gene asks to retire to Miami and he takes the watch from Tony takes the watch as a gift, and then he has Silvio say, that's not going to happen. That Florida thing, that's a no-go.
That's a no-go. Really, what he does here is pitch. I think he's trying to pitch building a casino in Gaza.
Yeah,
I think that's where he's going with this. So Trump on Gaza. I'm not confident that the ceasefire will last, but it's got some beautiful ocean views.
Right.
Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of this deal.
I'm not confident. That's not our war; it's their war. But I'm not confident. But I think they're very weakened on the other side.
Do you support the 2 states?
Gaza, boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place it's real.
Looked at a picture of Gaza. Looked at a picture of Gaza. People with humanity have been looking at like 100 pictures of Gaza a day, every day for the last 15 months. I saw a picture of it. It looks terrible. Looks like they really did a number on it.
Looks really bad. It's like that film Starship Troopers. I'm very fond of it.
Right. Yeah.
Really, it's got to be rebuilt in a different way.
Do you plan to help rebuilding Gaza?
I might.
Maybe.
Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, best weather. Everything's good. It's like
that's great.
Some
like Miami
Beach.
Beach.
Could be done with it, but it's very interesting. But some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
How do you see the future in governance for Gaza?
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you could have. Well, you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead.
Oh wow! So you're basically admitting it's a genocide then.
Right? Yeah. So, well, to be fair, I think he's probably talking about Hamas when he says that. He's talking about the leadership class. But from what we know, we decided not to do this segment today. But yeah, apparently the Hamas basically had a parade through Gaza, demonstrating that they are still in full force and in charge of Gaza. So this is part of the reason. And again, I will say, if you came up through the whole I used to be a Democrat and then I found out that they hate me thing, I get it. I get that every time Trump farts in a way that is vaguely palatable, you want to say he should get a Nobel Prize. But I think you ought to be really careful about that, because Miriam Adelson doesn't give you $100 million for being pro-Palestine.
I mean, how
So-
cold-blooded how reptilian do you have to be? I know, like, Trump, he's funny. His affectations are funny. So,
Sure.
like, when he says, hey, it's a phenomenal location, right? Like,
It's like
just,
a satire.
It's like a satire. But in this
Yeah.
case, when you look at the darkness of the subject matter and
Right.
just look at the brutality that we've witnessed, to hear this guy just say, yeah, I saw a picture of it, it looks really terrible.
weather
But
is
the weather's great and it's a phenomenal location. Like, the inhumanity of a person for that to be their Gaza take after 15 months. And to start that off by saying, well, that ceasefire, yeah, it's probably not going to hold, but, it's not our war, it's their war. Oh, well, if it's not our war, then why are we helping them? Why are we helping them out?
Yeah, no, it's a good thing they didn't rush that Nobel Prize to him the way they did with Barack Obama, because boy, would they wind up with egg on their face now.
Yep.
Israel ambassador expects Trump to reverse hold on 2,000-pound bombs. What a peacemaker. Israel expects President Trump to lift the Biden administration's hold on the supply of 2,000-pound bombs in his first days in office. Outgoing Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Mike Herzog, told Axios. President Biden's decision to halt the delivery of one shipment of 2,000-pound bombs last May triggered one of the biggest crises the U.S.-Israel relationship has faced during the 15-month war in Gaza. The hold, which Biden used to protest Israel's invasion of Rafah, became a political symbol much more than a military operational issue, and was used by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to mobilize Republicans against Biden. What they're saying, this is a little bit of a jump ahead in the article. Quote, we believe that Trump is going to release at the beginning of his term the munitions that haven't been released until now by the Biden administration, Herzog told Axios in an interview. The bombs are part of a series of steps the Israeli government expects Trump to take in the upcoming days and weeks regarding U.S. policy toward Israel and the war in Gaza, Israeli officials say. Some of these measures were discussed between Israeli officials and the Trump team in the context of Israel agreeing to make more concessions in order to conclude the Gaza hostage and ceasefire deal. Quote, the Trump team played a major role. They were resolved to get a deal, but were very cognizant of our security concerns. They got some things from the Israeli side that allowed the deal to go through, and they gave us some things and will give more going forward, Herzog said. Netanyahu said he got assurances from Trump that if the negotiations over the second phase of the hostage and ceasefire deal fail, the U.S. will support renewed Israeli military action against Hamas in Gaza. Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, confirmed that in several interviews in recent days. But in a private meeting with hostage families on Saturday, he stressed that Trump wants to see all phases of the Gaza hostage deal being implemented. In 2 weeks, negotiations over the second phase of the hostage deal must begin to help secure the release of the remaining hostages in Gaza, among them an American hostage who is still alive. Herzog said he expects that Trump will take steps against the ICC, the International Criminal Court, over its decision to issue arrest warrants against Netanyahu and his former Minister of Defense. Quote, I expect the administration will do it through an executive order and maybe take other steps too, Herzog said. Trump is also expected to reverse the sanctions the Biden administration imposed on Israeli settlers, more on that were involved in violent attacks against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, Herzog said. A Trump administration official said the Israelis asked for this during the transition. Quote, it is important for the Israeli government, the official said. Secretary of State designate Marco Rubio said in his confirmation hearing last week that the sanctions will be lifted. What's next? Herzog said that Netanyahu is expected to visit the White House in the coming weeks. It's under discussion, but no final date yet, he told Axios. Now, just on a side note, this is from Zay Squirrel, good account. Bernie Sanders voted to confirm genocidal Zionist neocon warmonger Marco Rubio. Bernie Sanders. Senate confirms Marco Rubio 99 to 0. Wow. There's the resistance, folks. There's your resistance. Okay, so hey, man, I don't think you need to have a crystal ball or be a prognosticator of some kind to understand what game is being played here. And look, I don't want you bombing a bunch of kids during my inauguration. It's bad. It's very bad. People don't want to see that during the inauguration. It's going to ruin the ceremonies. Listen, I'm going to lift the sanctions on the settlers. You can go into the West Bank. Nobody's going to pay a lot of attention to that. And then later on, you say they broke the deal.
You know, it's almost looking to me like, sorry, did you have more? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
It is almost looking to me more like he didn't want the optics of the ceasefire. He wanted the hostages released because he did this big event with the families of the hostages on the stage post-inauguration. He wanted the hostage families as props. So if I can rescue some hostages before I take office, that's going to make me look amazing. I think that was more his priority than a ceasefire. The ceasefire is obviously not a priority. He just said, hey, I don't have confidence that it'll hold. Will you help rebuild Gaza? Maybe. What is it? Yeah, maybe I will.
Got nice weather.
Yeah, it'll have to be rebuilt differently. I mean, that's what he's saying. He's saying what Jared Kushner's been saying. It's beachfront property. That's
beachfront property, baby. Yep. Yes, and as we will see in a second segment and a little bit in this one, the Israelis are already seizing on this opportunity to take the West Bank. That's what they're doing. They're playing a game. All right. We'll let some aid through. We'll let some hostages out. We'll have a little ceasefire there. We'll get back to that later. Right now, what we got from Trump is lifting sanctions on our psychopathic, murderous settlers. So now they're going to take that as a signal to go ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. So we'll see how that's playing out on the ground.
The old magic trick. Look at this hand over here, so you don't
look
see
at this, so you don't see what this is doing. I celebrate Gaza. Don't look at the West Bank. So already they broke the ceasefire. Israeli sniper kills child in southern Gaza on second day of ceasefire.
Wow, Trump was right again. He was right again. He's right about everything, that guy. He said, I don't think the ceasefire will hold. Look at that. Less than 10 hours later.
Yeah,
they're
he's
shooting
what they call a savant.
Yeah.
You could never see with one of the most evil, murderous regimes in history that they wouldn't honor the ceasefire.
Wow.
Israel violated the ceasefire with Hamas on Monday by shooting and killing a Palestinian child returning to his home in Rafah, while aid to the enclave trickles in and civil defense teams recover dozens of bodies. The 15-year-old was identified as Zachariah Hamid Yahya Barbak and was shot at by a sniper multiple times before he was killed. The video footage shared online also showed a man trying to retrieve his body, also shot at repeatedly. This comes as Gaza's civil defense crews say they recovered 66 more bodies from across Gaza on Monday since a fragile ceasefire came into effect on 19 January. Before this, 137 bodies were found in Rafah since the start of the truce.
Yeah, this is the really horrible, morbid
thing. we can't show this video.
Well, no, we're not going to show this video. This is the guy who was shot at trying to retrieve the boy's body, so he was not killed. So we're not showing any dead bodies or anything. But the real morbid thing about it is now that people are not under this constant bombardment, they're actually going to be able to excavate the remains of people, and you're going to see the death count just really shoot up because now you're going to start finding.
You're going to find out how many people were actually killed there.
Yeah.
All right. So the only reason I included this slide was so that you can go look it up yourself if you want. This account, many accounts shared it, but this is Warfare Analysis. The tweet was on January 20th. It's the same video that's going around everywhere. It's pretty upsetting.
These sick fucks. Oh, sorry, that's the next segment there. So we could, these sick fucks, like I shouldn't say that word. Like the Romans, they are. We'll say, like the Romans, they are.
Yes.
They filmed that. That was from an Israeli point of view. That was from an Israeli point of view. You see
and
that
these
from
people
the guy
posed,
next to the gunman. Yeah.
These people posed absolutely no threat. absolutely no threat. They're just murdering.
It was a boy.
Just murdering the boy and the guy coming for him. It's not clear what his fate was.
It's like the scene.
He's just trying to get the body. What are you shooting at this guy for?
Unbelievable. It's like the scene in like the Ray Fiennes scene in Schindler's List, where he wakes up, he has the cigarette and coffee, and he just goes and casually shoots people from the window.
Yeah,
That's what they are.
Well, and this is why I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. You cannot, just because Trump sent this, real New York real estate guy and got a ceasefire. Listen, Miriam Adelson does not give you $100 million for no reason. And who you staff your cabinet with is the clearest indication of what your policy is going to be, because the job is too big to micromanage the presidency. The people you put in charge of these departments are going to be in charge of these departments. And except in very extreme cases where they really violate your priorities and you need to fire them, their ideologies are going to be reflected in what those departments do. When you staff all of your department heads with Zionist maniacs, that's a statement of intent.
Exactly.
So to think because he didn't, he wants to get credit for bringing peace to his region, while at the same time, ultimately, if you look at the moves that are being made, it's all serving the objective of greater Israel. He's not trying to stop this war. He's trying to get plausible deniability while helping Israel achieve its long-term goals of establishing greater Israel.
Yes, and the PR win, just to reiterate, because I really feel pretty strongly about this at this point, given how flippant and sort of casually he shrugged off whether or not the ceasefire would last. The PR win from his perspective is the hostages, not the ceasefire. The PR win from him is I got the hostages back when Joe Biden couldn't. That's what he's willing to. That's what he wants in the spotlight.
Of course. And this is why, again, I understand if you came up and you got abused by the Democrats and all that, you want to start screaming about, look at what Trump did. Look at what. You don't want to own this guy. You don't want to own this administration. And I promise you, you are not going to want any part of what his long-term overall policy in regards to Israel is going to be. Anyone getting out in front of that now is going to have a lot of egg on their face later.
Right. I agree. In this respect, even on the immigration front, that's what we did 2 segments on that, right? I mean, again, that's a more nuanced topic than this one. This one's not nuanced at all. But still, you want people coming up, getting their appointment canceled an hour in advance and having to go back to Venezuela without their child who they thought they were going to see and tried to arrange to see them legally, as that woman did. You want to laugh in their face while you want to own the coalition that laughs in their face and go home and don't give a fuck that you're an asshole. You're just an asshole at that point.
Exactly. Like, hey, the point that the Biden administration was lying the whole time, which we always knew, about being able to get a ceasefire, that's valid. That's legit. But when you start running around, Donald Trump is a poet warrior in the classic sense, it's going to be a very embarrassing position to defend. I don't think in a year. I think in a week.
Already. Almost.
Already.
Really, already.
Yeah.
I mean, they broke the ceasefire. They shot a kid who posed no threat to them. And then they shot at the guy who was trying to recover the body.
Right.
That's a violation. I don't know why that's not getting out there more. That clearly happened. That's not been made up. That's been reported pretty widely. What people are holding out hope that I guess maybe people are saying, hey, maybe if we don't make too big a deal about this, maybe we can keep the ceasefire going. Whereas if this becomes a thing, now there's going to be retaliation, and now it's just going to be full-fledged war again. Who knows? But the bottom line is not good. Believe me, not good. All right, let's take a couple super chats, and then we'll do our West Bank segment. Peter Monahan, it's the end of the world as we knew it. Thanks, Peter Monahan. Appreciate that. Chris Bedford, thanks for the $2. My 2 favorite Jews. Get them, boys. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Kuznetsky, thanks for the $4.99 and the laughter super sticker. Thank you for that. Lada Moro, thanks for the $5. Why didn't her son apply for a visa green card for his mother? I believe U.S. citizens can, unless he is not legally in the States either. I don't know those details. Sparky, thanks for the $5. Free Greenland from Danish tyranny and brutal oppression. We only want to bring them freedom and democracy. Thank you, Sparky. Sylvian Harvey, thanks for the $10. $500 billion net worth will get any socially awkward Asperger, sad fuck wives, sad fuck 5 wives and some. There you go. I like that. I like that one. All right, there we go. Hillary Hinton. I desperately wanted Elon to goose step off stage like Basil Fawlty in the Germans episode of Fawlty Towers. Yes. Also, is this the character of Musk being played by Jimmy Fallon? Thank you. Graciously accepted a computer, says Hamhawk, thank you, from a Zionist friend and watched other friends gleefully meet Kamala yesterday. It was easier watching my house burn. Oy. Oy, oy, oy. That's right. Hamhawk is out of house and home. You know what Trump would say? That's interesting. Didn't he say that in the inauguration speech? In the inaugural speech? You know, that are very rich people from LA. They don't have their homes anymore. It's interesting.
Yeah, what do you mean by that exactly?
It's interesting. You don't have a house anymore. Okay. Hey, we got 1,014 likes. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Appreciate that. Eric Rousseau,
Who says there's not a place for honest takes?
There you go. Asperger. Eric Rousseau says, I have Asperger's and I know better. He's not that awkward. That's the thing. This is the podcast community. All of us have Asperger's. We don't Nazi salute. Everyone in this space has Asperger's. We all have Asperger's. We're all on the spectrum. We don't Nazi salute. So yeah, I should have incorporated that.
Punks, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. I should have made that point. Of course. Hidden in broad daylight. Noah Goop, thanks for the $2. Trump just issued executive order stopping all foreign aid, except for Ukraine, Israel, Egypt, and Jordan. True enemy of the deep state and war machine. Yep. Thank you, Noah Goop. Yep. Just saw that before it broke. I mean, this week we could literally just stay on the air 24/7 and not run out of material if we wanted to. That's not even an exaggeration.
It was tough making choices today because, yeah, actually, I mean, Libs of TikTok did a whole thread of like every executive order. Like we definitely could have done a segment. We just don't want to be on for 6 hours.
Exactly. I've known an autistic far-right veteran before. He was an anarcho-capitalist and claimed to have murdered U.S. civilians with Molotov cocktails. Wow. That's pretty far out. Violent fembot, not defending Elon, but his kind of money compensates for all manner of sins. He really doesn't need social skills. That's true, but he really did. I mean, when you think about it, he really did build himself up to the richest man on earth by being a businessman, right? I mean, that's what it is.
Right.
I mean, look.
That's it. He's a businessman.
He's got some...
He didn't invent shit.
Exactly, yeah. As an autistic American, I condemn Elon Musk. Good for you. It's okay to criticize autistic people. Elon is a horrible person for many reasons, whether he Nazi saluted or not. Thank you, Nocturnal Human. Appreciate that. We need Elon to do one more thing like this. He didn't go as hard as Vivek the first time. He didn't go as hard as Vivek the first time. Thank you, Crystal Waters. Appreciate that. Was listening, sets $5. Was listening to your inauguration show on my way to work yesterday and nearly caused a pileup on the freeway due to a laughing fit. Fantastic commentary. Keep up the great work, lads. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to our friend Don DeBar for helping us yesterday with some on the ground stuff. Romulan salute was a Star Trek reference. Being Elon is space boy.
Who are you talking to? I got it.
Yeah. Oh, right. He got it. All right, let's see what else we got here. Sparky, thanks for the $5. H-1B visa holders are modern-day serfs. They're tied to an employer like a serf was tied to an estate. Thank you, Sparky.
Yep.
All right, let's do our West Bank piece.
All right, so this is what this is really about. Yay, ceasefire Gaza. Ooh, let's take the West Bank while nobody's looking. So Trump cancels sanctions on Israeli settlers in the West Bank. U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday rescinded sanctions imposed by the former Biden administration on far-right Israeli settler groups and individuals accused of being involved in violence against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, the new White House website said. The website said Trump rescinded Executive Order 14115 issued on February 1st, 2024, which authorized the imposition of certain sanctions on persons undermining peace, security, and stability in the West Bank. Trump's decision is a reversal of a major policy action by former President Joe Biden's administration, which had slapped sanctions on numerous Israeli settler individuals and entities, freezing their U.S. assets and generally barring Americans from dealing with them. As much of the world's attention has focused on the war in Gaza, growing violence by Israeli settlers against Palestinians in the West Bank and land grabs in the occupied territory have raised concern among some of Israel's Western allies. U.S. sanctions on settlers landed after the Biden administration repeatedly urged the Israeli government to take action to hold extremists to account for actions that Washington believes set back hopes for a two-state solution between Israelis and Palestinians. Since the 1967 Middle East War, Israel has occupied the West Bank of the Jordan River, which Palestinians want as the core of an independent state. It has built Jewish settlements there that most countries deem illegal. Israel disputes this and cites historical and biblical ties to the land. Well, it's not like a whole country based on a religious mania that we fund or anything. Trump's approach to settlements was significantly different. During his first, I got it in about 45 minutes. They couldn't believe how fast I got it done for them. During his first term in 2019, Trump had abandoned the long-held U.S. position that the settlements are illegal before it was restored by Biden. Israel Gans, chairman of the Maine Yesha Settler Council, who has close ties with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, told Reuters in October that he expected the sanctions to be lifted in the event of a Trump win. So already they are executing their master plan. At least 8 killed, dozens wounded in Israeli army attack on Jenin, wasting no time.
Don't forget, this annexation is not going to be like peaceful. It's not we send in a real estate guy and we work it out. It's going to be violent.
Of course.
That's how they do things.
Of course.
Yeah.
This has been a long-term game that they've been playing for 76 years. They commit acts of aggression against the Palestinians. They ethnically cleanse them, commit genocide, murder them, take their land, claim to be the victims, take a ceasefire, just make life hell for them, look for the next opportunity to take open action against them again. And gradually, they've just taken more and more of their land. This is the end game. This is the end game of a 76 years long objective. At least 8 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks on the city of Jenin and the occupied West Bank, the Palestinian Ministry of Health said. The Israeli army said earlier on Tuesday that soldiers, police, and intelligence services launched a counterterrorism action, but gave no further details. The identity of those killed was not immediately clear. The health ministry said that more than 35 people have been injured. A spokesperson for the Palestinian Authority security forces said in a statement that Israeli forces, quote, opened fire on civilians and security forces, resulting in injuries to several civilians and a number of security personnel, one of whom is in critical condition. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the operation aimed to eradicate terrorism. An Israeli military spokesperson said the ongoing operation was dubbed the Iron Wall. Jenin Governor Kamal Abu al-Rub called the action an invasion, according to the AFP news agency. It came quickly, he said, Apache planes in the sky and Israeli military vehicles everywhere. So these settlers are not people that the Israeli military is at odds with. They rely on them to make life hell for the Palestinians off the books. So this is suppressed news. This evening, the Israeli occupation forces closed dozens of checkpoints and gates, intensifying restrictions on Palestinian movement throughout the West Bank. In Kalkalia, I could be saying that wrong. The IOF arrested over 80 Palestinians in the town of Azun. Simultaneously, settlers launched widespread attacks on the villages of Al Fundouk and Jinsafut, located east of Kalkaya. Homes, vehicles, and shops were set ablaze in the violence. Palestinian youth confronted the settlers' attacks, prompting the IOF to fire live bullets at them. All right, so we have some video of what we believe are Palestinian youth who were rounded up by the IOF.
Yeah, in the tweet.
Oh, you wanted to mute it?
Oh.
Yeah, there are some gunshots in it. We don't know how YouTube is going to take that, so I'm going to mute it, but you can see there the Palestinians being marched down the street by the Israelis. So, of course, these Israeli settler scumbag douchebags took this as an opportunity, because now there aren't going to be any consequences. They're not going to get any sanctions. They took it as an opportunity to redouble their efforts to make life hell and really unlivable for Palestinians. So this is Drop Site News, which is a pretty reliable source. Israeli forces have closed a large number of checkpoints, gates, and bypass roads throughout the West Bank. If you've ever seen, believe it or not, CNN did a great video on this. You could probably look it up pretty easily with the keywords West Bank CNN on YouTube. They did a great video really showing what life is like for these people, where, you have people who the store is on the next block, old ladies who have to walk 1.5 miles because of the checkpoints.
3-mile round trip walk.
Have to go all the way around. Exactly. Full closure of all entrances to Ramallah, complete closure of all entrances to Hebron, all entrances to Kalkalia have been shut. Entrances to Salfit are completely closed. All entrances to Bethlehem have been sealed. And this is, I don't know the site, but it seems to be a kind of like left-wing Israeli site, but Salem. Last night, settlers, backed, escorted, and with full cooperation with the Israeli army, attacked Palestinian communities in the West Bank. In Sebastia, a 15-year-old boy was shot and killed by soldiers. In Sinjil, 6 Palestinians were injured by Molotov cocktails, and in numerous intersections, settlers rioted and threw stones at Palestinian vehicles. While the deal progresses, the settlers' rioters are clear to impose a price tag for the release of Palestinians from Israeli prisons. So we have the video that goes with this. These are presumably the settlers approaching the gate.
شباب ولا حدا يجي على عيون الحرامية لأنه في تكسير للسيارات كلها.
He's warning not
كل
to use the
المستوطنين
road
معبين
here.
الدنيا.
There are lots of settlers there. Wadi's car is burning. There are gas tanks in it. Hurry, hurry. They threw a Molotov cocktail into the house. This is my sister's bedroom. She sleeps there.
So these are the fine people who even Biden put sanctions on that are now lifted, apparently.
Yes, and they're taking the opportunity that lifting the sanctions presents to them. And this is one last one. This account, Sarah, says, for the second night in a row, armed Israeli settlers are burning Palestinian homes, shops, and cars in the occupied West Bank, terrorizing families as they sleep. No justification, just pure terror and destruction, and not one peep from the international community. And that is the point. So let's take a look at that. All right. So maybe we should put a hold on Trump's Nobel Peace Prize, huh?
I would say so. And, look, don't forget, the West Bank is the big prize here in Israel's eyes. I mean, it's much bigger than Gaza. Gaza is where, Trump wants to put the next Ruth's Chris steakhouse, but the West Bank is a bigger prize. And so not a surprise that those sanctions get lifted, and that's the green light to go ahead and do this. So, look, this is why I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but this is why we were adamant throughout the campaign that you can support neither candidate.
Yes.
Because this is what you're in for.
Right.
I mean, this is really what you're in for. Right. And I don't want to have to answer for this. You know, I don't think anybody does who comes at this from the way we look at it.
Well, and also, hey, man, so many of us made fun of all of the pro-Palestine people all of a sudden when Kamala picks Tim Walz, sold out for a free school lunch and legal weed, right?
Right.
So, look, I'm sure Trump will do certain things we'll agree with, but that doesn't justify what his administration's policy is going to be in this regard any more than it did with Harris. The ceasefire, that's a blip. That's a blip. If you look at what's happening there now, that's the policy. He just said, I don't expect this ceasefire to hold. He didn't say, oh, well, they better not break that ceasefire. If he said that, we'd give him credit, right?
He didn't even say, I really hope it does. I'm going to try my best. No, it's, I don't know.
No, I don't think
Probably
so.
not. I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's
and
not
we can't
our
have
problem.
the people that were there before.
Right.
Okay, so how do you dislodge them then?
Right.
If not to go back to the war.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Hang on one second. I got to turn off one of the lights here. Do a little bit of a lighting adjustment.
Okay. You're supposed to redo the set there, man. Can you hear me? No, you can't hear me. You're supposed to redo the set.
I know. Well, I was starting to look. Well, I have a purple gel on one of the lights, but it's not strong enough, so I have to put another one.
It's not reading.
It's not reading. But now that it's getting darker out, the light was looking very yellow. I look starting to look very yellow.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want jaundice.
No, we don't want it to look jaundiced. All right. For Darryl Cooper, the video of Musk doing the Nazi salute goes in the phone. There you go. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Eric Rousseau, also Luis Alberto Uria, The Devil's Highway, a true story. Thank you. Women are like a box of chocolates. Some may have nuts. There you go. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. How about a round of applause for Dan, who bought a bag of 1775 coffee for the election and had it shipped all the way over to the UK.
Wow.
Lasted me all the way to Inauguration Day. Beautiful.
Wow.
Hope you liked it. Thank you. That's awesome. Appreciate that very much. So how often do you really think about the Roman Empire? That's a good one. Thank you. So, appreciate that.
You know, man, I downloaded like a strategy game of the Roman Empire.
Right.
And it was so detailed, like, oh, and you could build ships at this port, and if you sacrifice a goat, there's a religious bonus. I was like, I ain't learning all that.
Right.
You gotta pay me to learn all that.
Noah Goop, Paige, you guys catch my rant about the foreign aid? Just checking. Great show, boys. Thank you. Yes, we did. Yep, we just read it. Beautiful. All right, we're going to go to our patron scroll, and then we got one more segment on the day. Let's go to our patron scroll right now. Share screen.
Like some of those video games, it's basically like a job. Like you might as well get hired for a job if you're going to learn that.
Which ones?
You know, some of the video games at this point have such complex concepts and rules.
Oh yeah, you're saying
and strategies behind them that essentially that is a job. Like to learn and execute that. I mean, you should be getting paid by the hour to do that.
Right. Yeah. No, they get pretty involved at this point. Folks, if you like what we do, you can help us do more of it by going to patreon.com/DoDissidents. You can also join our Substack, DoDissidents.substack.com, as well as our locals, DoDissidents.locals.com. That's the membership platform we're really pushing now. Perks of membership include your name up in lights here on the show scroll. You also get call-in access to our post-show Q&As every Sunday night on Rumble. You also get 2 bonus live streams per month, one standard stream with call-in access, and then another movie night stream. We're going to be announcing those dates on the Thursday show. We have to schedule our January bonus streams, so we'll have dates for you coming up on our next show for those. You also get live stream access to our pre-recorded full-length interviews and more. So do dissidents.locals.com. If you want to sign up on Rumble, you can click that join button, the bright red join button underneath the video player. You should be able to see it right now. It takes you right to our locals page. Or for just $5 a month, you get all the perks I just mentioned, plus the good karma that comes with supporting independent media. Thank you very much for your support. The amazing Blumpkin says all Elon was doing is saying his stocks will rise high. That's, yes, good sign. That's a Seinfeld reference, Mr. Pitt. Thank you. Jax Page, thanks for the $5.
Thank you, Jax.
Excuse me. Thank you, Jax. Lived in Mexico for 2 years now. So fucking sick and tired of the way U.S. media depicts Mexico. The Mexican people are warm, welcoming, and kind. Thank you, Jax. Appreciate that. And I hope you're feeling better. I guess you're out of the hospital now, so that's great. Good to hear. Let's see. All right. We got that. Beautiful. Okay. Salamander Fry says, hey, you guys are all right. You're all right too, Salamander Fry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Adam L., thanks for the $4.99, says Ellin believes that Mexican Americans should be a monolith and not think for themselves. Typical lib mindset. No, that's not what she said. At first, I kind of heard it that way. That's why I pushed back, but I figured that wasn't what she meant. And she was talking about Mexican immigrants who then tweet out the kind of things that guy did.
Right.
Demagoguing against immigrants. She was talking about them specifically, not Mexicans in general or Mexican working people. Yeah. But like I said, I misheard that myself. That's why I said that, but I figured I had misheard it. So that's what she meant there. SB, thanks for the $5. Turns out Destiny was P. Diddy of streamers. She was sending revenge. I won't say multiple times. Glad Norm spent the whole debate clowning the creep. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard about that. Man, that guy stays in the news. For such an uninteresting guy, that guy stays in the news. You know? Like, the guy's the most boring guy. But, apparently he has a following. Marianne Cummings, thanks for the $5. The progressive Dem who ran against Denny Hastert said back in 2008 that the immigration worker issue was the toughest one for the Dems. It is. It's a damn near impossible one. Yeah, it really is. Sparky, once we plant the American flag on Mars, we can exploit cheap Martian labor. Thank you. Posmo, LBJ gave Gaza and West Bank to Israel 58 years ago. Seb Griffiths, thanks for the $5. The Dems and Republicans are Dr. Frankenstein. Trump is their monster, and we're the villagers putting up with the mess they made. Yes, well said, Seb. Thank you for that. Haven't seen Seb Griffiths in a while, but good to see you hanging out in the chat there, my friend. Appreciate that very much. All right, folks, we got one more segment on the day. This segment is called If You're MAGA, Wait, Don't Go Anywhere Yet. Don't go anywhere yet. We got one we think you'll like. Is it too late? Is it too late? Did we burn that bridge already?
Might be too late. Might be too. I don't know, man. I think anyone who can't deal with our heterodoxy unsubscribed a while ago.
Probably.
I think we're at because you can tell how smart the chat is now.
That's true. The chat's very smart now.
The chat's very smart. All the super chats are very
well
clever,
endowed,
funny, very well endowed, very girthy.
Very girthy chat. We have a long and girthy chat.
Long and girthy.
Yes, exactly.
This chat rips it open, man.
Right. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. All right. So, Donald Trump on day one pardoned the January 6th protesters. That's right. At this recording, still waiting on the Ross Ulbricht pardon, which he promised the libertarians on day one. He didn't give them. I don't know. Maybe has he done that since we started? I'm not sure. But he did pardon approximately 1,500 January 6th political prisoners of the Biden era, says the Trump War Room. Here he is putting the pen to paper.
We have a list of pardons and commutations relating to events that occurred on January 6th, 2021.
Okay, and how many people is this?
I think this order will apply to approximately 1,500 people, sir.
So this is January 6th, and these are the hostages? Approximately 1,500 for a pardon?
Yes.
Full pardon?
Full pardon or commutation?
Full pardon. We have about 6 commutations in there where we're doing further research.
Doing further research. The guy who took a shit in Nancy Pelosi's ficus plant, we're still figuring out what to do about him, but these are full pardons.
There's the guy who broke the vending machine.
So this is a big one.
The guy
I
who
really
stole
like
the Twix bar out of
Funyuns
the
in there, and
Mentos.
now I can't get any
We hope
Funyuns.
we hope they come out tonight, frankly. We're expecting it.
There it is.
Approximately 1,500 people. Six commutations.
1,500 pardons, 6 commutations for immediate release. Pen to paper. Trump issued sweeping pardons and commutations for January 6th rioters. President Donald Trump issued a sweeping series of pardons for defendants charged in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol, commuting the sentences of 14 individuals and offering a full, complete, and unconditional pardon to all other individuals convicted of offenses related to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. All right, so this is January 6th. These are the hostages. That just narrates what we saw already. The 14 individuals that Trump identified that he was commuting sentences for are those convicted or otherwise charged with engaging in the separate seditious conspiracies mounted by leaders of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers to thwart the lawful transfer of power on January 6, 2021. They were among the more grave and high-profile charges brought in connection with January 6th. So he did commute some of the Proud Boys and did let some of the Proud Boys out of jail, which the Proud Boys were grateful to be released, but they were really pissed off that they missed the Village People concert. They're like, God damn. Like, you know, I mean, thank you, but could you have done this a few hours earlier? Really, really, they were looking forward to that, and they missed it. Former Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio, who was sentenced to 20...
Who actually was the Indian for a while.
What was that?
He was the Indian for a while.
Yeah, in the Village People, yes. They had to replace him, so this hurt the Village People, too. Former Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio, who was sentenced to 22 years in prison after his conviction of seditious conspiracy, was being processed for release from his cell in Louisiana following Trump's executive action, his lawyer told ABC News Monday evening. Tarrio was notably sentenced to the longest term of imprisonment among all of the nearly 1,600 individuals charged in connection with the attack. All right, so I'll stop you for a brief moment, right? So I'm not going to tell you Enrique Tarrio was innocent and that he wasn't guilty of anything and that he shouldn't have been penalized at all. But Russell will tell you, I've been saying this since day one. We did an audio podcast the day after January 6th, which I very proudly titled Deplorapalooza, one of my favorite episode titles that I ever came up with. And I said the sentencing for this, the pursuit of these people is going to be out of control. Like, the sentencing is just out of control. I'm not going to tell you this guy didn't deserve any penalty. 22 years? I mean, think of how long we lock people in cages without thinking twice about it. If he got 5 years in jail, think of what a 5-year sentence is. If the average lifespan is 75 years, 5 years in jail means 1 out of every 15 days of your life, the one life you get to live, is spent in a cage. That's not enough. That's not a severe punishment. 22 fucking years. I mean, it's crazy. It's too much. And this is what I said. I've been on this from literally day one. It's out of control. The sentencing is just out of control. So I support these pardons and these commutations. Probably too late to win back any of the MAGA hearts, but for what it's worth.
I met a guy you cut out, but the little luncheon that they had after the Jose event.
Oh yeah,
that we did. There was a guy there, man, who was going in on Monday. Who was January 6th guy.
I know a guy, he owned, I won't say too much about him, I don't know how much he wants out there, but I know a guy from Newburgh, who I knew his family, very nice guy, nice family. Like, I don't know how many years he got. I'm sure he was on this list of pardons. And it's like, yeah, like how long you want to lock people up and keep them in cages for what was essentially a rally that got out of control. And there were people who did violent things there, so you could say they deserve maybe some time for assaulting an officer or something. But this punishment, these crazy sentences, and a lot of people who got charged with things and charged with misdemeanors, they didn't do anything. The cops opened the doors. There was a CNN article that we're not using for this who admitted that a lot of people who were charged didn't do anything. They said they were let in by the police. They went in, they walked around the Capitol, and, a lot of those people didn't do hard time, but they still got, fines and probation and all this stuff. Like, it was way too much for what it was, even notwithstanding the Fed involvement, right? Which there obviously was Fed involvement. You could say the whole thing was a setup to a certain extent, but even absent that, It was clearly not a premeditated insurrection that warranted this kind of punishment for people. Clearly.
It was basically a red state rave with Viking helmets instead of pussy hats.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, we got this slide done. Outside the central detention facility in Washington, crowds of supporters of those inside sang the national anthem with rioters over the phone. One person could be heard saying, "Thank you, President Trump. We're getting out tonight." So Ford Fisher documented one of the demonstrations outside of one of the D.C. jails because they anticipated this pardon coming. So here they are in the daylight hours chanting USA, USA.
USA! USA! USA!
And they were there into the night, as we will later see. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, among the lawmakers who were rushed from the House and Senate chambers and offices after rioters breached the Capitol, called Trump's order shameful. The president's actions are an outrageous insult to our justice system and the heroes who suffered physical scars and emotional trauma as they protected the Capitol, the Congress, and the Constitution, Pelosi said. Now, oddly enough, there's video of Pelosi on the phone saying it's our responsibility for not having protected the Capitol. Right.
You know, it would be funny if Trump shit on her desk now. like what would you do? The Supreme Court ruled that a president can't be held accountable for actions he took while in office in the course of his duties. What if he claims that he was making a statement on behalf of the January 6th victims?
That's right. Well, he's too much of a germaphobe. He would send Vance in to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Give
him a few jelly donuts first.
yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Trump was expected to further direct the incoming attorney general to move to dismiss all pending indictments against January 6 defendants who have not yet had their cases fully adjudicated, which would shutter roughly 470 ongoing cases, according to the recently released numbers by the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. Current and former DOJ officials have expressed alarm over the potential that Trump would hand down pardons or otherwise free violent offenders, citing the potential risk they could seek to target the prosecutors who oversaw their cases, the judges who sentenced them to periods of incarceration, or witnesses who have testified against them. Again, you are painting people with a broad... Clearly, it was a march that went to the Capitol. It got rowdy. The police let them in. There's a video of Joe Scarborough ranting the next day at the Capitol Police. You opened the fucking doors for them. And so they went in. The guy with the makeup and the helmet, I forget his name. Jimmy interviewed him because he ran for Congress as a libertarian. But, I mean, that guy was led around. They sentenced that guy. That guy's a diagnosed schizophrenic who the police were leading around from room to room. They tried to lock him up for, 6 years, 5 years? Again, just outrageously draconian sentencing. Yeah. To people who really did not pose a threat to anybody. They're not going to go threaten judges. That's absurd. That's fucking absurd. So Olia Scootercaster, who shoots for Freedom News, which, by the way, go follow her X account. Her footage is always the best when stuff like this happens.
That may be the best name I've ever heard.
Yeah, Olia Scootercaster. It's a good name, too. So go find her, Scootercaster NY. She was on site with the Amazon workers. She gets everywhere, and her stuff is always the best. She always catches the best action. A protester removed by the cops after confronting J6 Freedom Corner supporters outside of the D.C. jail. So this is one of the libs that at least got up in the faces of the
wants to speak to you right there.
I have just as much right to be here.
That Jennifer Rubin?
How the tables have turned, huh? Tables have turned, huh? Again, Olia's next video here. Families and supporters celebrate as President Trump announces that all J6 prisoners will be released by midnight tonight. So here they are.
Praise God. Thank you so much, Lord Jesus, for doing the good work that we know that you do. Holy Spirit, you're welcome here outside the D.C. Gulag. We are receiving our J6 hostages by midnight. This is going to happen. I know from clear communication inside of the systems that there are veterans being pulled together that are just waiting for the paperwork to be processed. We know and we are ready to receive all of our veterans and our patriots that have served tirelessly for years inside of this gulag as they have been persecuted and prosecuted for standing up for their rights of First Amendment free speech.
Wow! Freedom!
Oh my God.
Freedom! Yeah! Freedom!
I'm a little bummed that Kamala Harris didn't win, but we'll get him next time.
Yeah, we'll get him next time. Yeah, can't have everything, right? Can't have everything. Here's a funny bit of video. Here's a CNN correspondent informing Anderson Cooper that not only are they getting out, some of them are going to go to the inaugural ball straight from jail. It's kind of funny.
What is happening right now? I will tell you that Rachel Powell, some of the watch there, Andrew. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Some of the people inside this prison are hoping to make it to the inaugural balls tonight. They have been told that if they are released... Back up. Yeah, okay. We're going to move down here, Anderson.
Imagine getting out of jail and going right to the inaugural ball. Imagine being CNN and having to air that footage after all this, after all they've done.
Honestly, man, Schellenberger wrote an article that the Democrats are being so quiet because they didn't just lose politically, they lost morally. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think
this
that's a big
respect,
part of why they're so deflated,
Yeah.
because they know that everyone hates them, and the public has pretty well demonstrated they don't agree with their cultural posturing.
Well, they don't, and also they don't agree with this kind of pursuit.
Well,
against Donald Trump.
I would put this under the cultural posture.
Oh, right, exactly. So, like, it's not that Donald Trump has won a moral high ground on most issues, Israel, Gaza,
Right.
West
Sure,
Bank,
sure.
right? But that was not the core liberal critique of Donald Trump. This was,
Right,
and it was a repudiation of this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, Joe Biden. And you might think, wow, this is taking a left turn here. Biden commutes the sentence of Native American activist Leonard Pelier. So on the way out the door, Biden pardoned his own family, pardoned Fauci. He also threw a bone to the left at the last minute by commuting the sentence. I misspoke. He didn't pardon him. He commuted the sentence of Leonard Pelier. Biden on Monday commuted the life sentence of Native American activist Leonard Pelier, who was controversially convicted of murdering 2 FBI agents within the final hour of his presidency. The commutation is distinct from a pardon, and the White House's statement treats Pelier as guilty of the crimes of which he was convicted. He's also not free to go entirely. Right. He will live the rest of his life in home confinement. Pelier is the only person to be convicted in connection with their deaths. 2 of his fellow activists were also charged in the murders, but were acquitted on evidence Peltier's defense was not allowed to present. The trial and conviction have long been controversial and criticized as unfair by Peltier's advocates. They have pointed to the admission by a key witness that she lied about both witnessing the murders and her own relationship to Pelier, as well as a juror who was seated despite admitting to prejudice against Native Americans. Pope Francis, Amnesty International, and the late Nelson Mandela are among those who have called for Peltier's release as one of the federal prosecutors, one of the federal prosecutors in his trial. So when you're the prosecutors...
And even all that, he couldn't just give him a straight freaking pardon.
Well, a pardon would say he's overturning the verdict, even though, like I said, the verdict is very controversial because of everything we just mentioned.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
And even with this, he didn't give him a full pardon.
Right.
Which he could have done.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, what I would say, even more egregious than that, and the reason I put this in this segment is you look at the timing, right? So Donald Trump knows he's going to take a lot of shit for pardoning the January 6th people. But you know what? He thinks they deserve to be free, and so he did it on day one. He didn't waste 4 years of their life keeping them in office until his last day when there's no political price for him to pay, and then he lets them free. Whereas look what Biden did. Biden clearly knew that Leonard Peltier shouldn't have to rot in jail for the rest of his life. He could have done that as soon as he took office. It could have been a day one pardon, just like Donald Trump pardoned the J6ers on day one. But Biden, because he was such a delusional egomaniac who thought he was going to run again and win again and serve again, thought, well, I can't do that because it's too politically costly. Right. So he waited until it wouldn't cost him anything. That's the difference. That's the difference. And that's a microcosm of why the Democrats lose and Republicans win. Because if Biden had done that, if he had pardoned Leonard Peltier on day one,
right?
I'm not saying he wouldn't not have become a lion of the left overnight, but people would have appreciated that. Would have been, oh wow, wow, maybe he is a changed man. Of course he's not, which is why he waited till it wouldn't cost him anything. Because ultimately he's always been a transactional scumbag who will only do something when it benefits him. Even worse than Trump in this example, because Trump could have waited until there was no political price to pay to pardon the J6ers, but he didn't. He did it on day one because he said he was going to. He thinks they deserve to be free, and he's not going to waste 4 years of their life to save his poll numbers.
Well, this is why our friend Shama is something very, very rare on the left. A winner. A winner. You know why? Because she has always pursued that kind of an approach. Like, hey, man, if you don't serve your base, they're not going to be there for you.
Right.
And if you stand up and stick to your principles, they're going to come out for you. Most of these so-called left leaders, they couldn't organize a card game, man. You know, they're trying to play this game to please people who are never going to vote for them.
Right. Exactly. Whereas,
the country is full of Liz Cheney fans who want to vote for a Democrat.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Country's full of people like that.
Yeah. Yep. So I thought we should cover that. I'll give Trump credit for that. I thought from January 7th that they were going to be railroaded unfairly, and they were. And so good for him. See? Happy ending. Right? How do you like that, everybody? Hey, folks, I want to tell you about one of our other dissident sponsors, a great artist named DJ Vulture. DJ Vulture is an artist, producer, and DJ in Detroit, Michigan. His debut album, Rise, is a politically charged sonic exploration that traverses multiple genres. Tracks like Politricks, If You Want to Get Hurt, and Indira Chain invoke the memory of Public Enemy, Wu-Tang Clan, and Company Flow, while pieces such as 1849, Brainwashed Pink, and Cannibal Zombie are brutally industrial, reminiscent of Skinny Puppy and Ministry. Others, such as I Will Not, Circles in the Sky, and Singularity, are ethereal, dreamy, and hallucinogenic. With Rise, DJ Vulture has expanded beyond your typical electronic music to include live vocals, guitars, synths, percussion, and of course it wouldn't be a DJ record without turntablism. So help support the underground and pick up the soundtrack for the revolution, Rise, on Bandcamp for $10, but you don't have to memorize a weird URL. You can simply go to dudissidents.com/DJ and check out the album. So that's dudissidents.com/DJ and help support our dissident artists who help sponsor the show. Okay, we'll take some more Super Chats and Rumble Rants before we close the lights here. Let's see here. Lay Tomorrow says, agree, Trump is not going to be good at negotiations with Russia either. Look how he came up with bogus numbers of Russian casualties. He listens to the wrong people. Sparky says, actual autistic people don't identify as autistic. Temple Grandin is the exception who proves the rule. Grossly misapplied in the last 30 years, autistic is now a fashionable euphemism for nerd. Well, there are some people who have it and say I have it. Yeah, some people know that they have it. There are some people who say, you know, I've been diagnosed with autism.
Yes, but I will say, like, particularly Zoomer, like you saw it with millennials, and even more so with Zoomers. They're just constantly self-diagnosing and diagnosing other people. Like everyone has an illness. Like no one has a personality. Everyone has a syndrome.
No, I absolutely. I think it's definitely overdiagnosed. Would be my estimate. But I think there are people who know that they have it. Autism used to be called childhood schizophrenia. It was the person in old-time movies banging their head against the wall in the insane asylum. Now it's fashionable to say I'm autistic. Well, it is when you do a Nazi salute and you need an excuse for it, Sparky. Sparky, thanks for the $5. Enrique Tarrio was once an FBI informant. DOJ went after him extra hard because he quit playing ball with them. It's a tradition. You know, you're right. You're right. I forgot about that. I should have remembered that for the segment. Damn it. Thank you, Sparky. Mark Keating, thanks for the $5. A pardon is not exoneration. It's an admission of guilt. The crime remains on a person's record, but restores all the person's rights.
Right.
Thank you. Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
That's right. Just in time.
In fact, accepting a pardon includes an admission of guilt.
Right.
It is assumed that someone who accepts a pardon is admitting their guilt.
Right. And it doesn't exempt you from having to testify or talk, right? So in some ways, a pardon is a way to get more information out of people because you kind of give them immunity and get them to talk. Yeah. To be fair, Trump has no political risk with these pardons either. He just knows that he can't run again. That's true. I mean, it will cost him some political capital. I don't know to what extent he gives a shit about that anymore.
I don't know how much it does with his base.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who's it costing him with? No one who would support him, really.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it'll get him some press,
on
but
balance, it's good for him.
Yeah, maybe. All right, let's go to some Rumble rants over here. Blank State says, thank you all for showing a bit more empathy on the immigration topic than friend of show Jimmy Dore. RFK's MK Ultra techniques really did a number on the guy. So listen, I was on stage with Jimmy at the Jose Vega event when somebody went on an anti-immigrant rant, and he said, you know, he says it all the time, that if you're angry at people lower on the economic ladder than you, you're being manipulated by someone higher on the economic ladder than you. And he makes that point whenever he covers this. So I wouldn't say he's not empathetic.
People hear what they want to hear.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's not empathetic. I do think that this issue is a fucking impossible issue. And that's why I wanted Ellin on, because I wouldn't feel comfortable covering it without her, because it's a loser. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I think obviously, yes, imperialism is to blame, capitalism is to blame. Saying, well, yeah, we could solve immigration by just ending imperialism. That's not an answer. That's a loser, because you're not going to do that. And in the you're not going to do that overnight. And in the meantime, you're going to eat shit from the anti-immigrant people. So
you can't just call everyone a racist. Right. Concerns about their economic security.
Right. You can't do that. And you also can't act like, well, we just need to end imperialism. That's not not a real short-term solution. Right? Like, you can't, like, that's a macro project. And unfortunately, I think absent those macro endeavors, you're going to eat shit on this, you know? That's why I didn't even want to cover it myself. That's why I texted Ellin last night. I said, hey, can you come on for these 2 segments? I really want to cover them, but I can't really do it without you.
It's like when we spoke to friend of show Greg Foreman over on Jimmy's show, and he said, healthcare is a loser for conservatives. Immigration is a loser.
It's a loser for the left. It really is. It is because of the circumstances. Absolutely. Nujoma says, I was shopping and listening yesterday. Where is it? Laughing tears about AOC and Clinton ode to whiteness and the detransition required. Thank you. Yes. People thought I was a crazy person. Thank you. Yeah, we had some good jokes on those.
Yeah, I thought we were pretty funny yesterday.
Well, when you're on Rumble exclusively, we're a lot funnier because
you don't have to
self-censor. Right. You don't have to run it through your guidelines check before you say it like we do here. Cole 3000, U.S. grants around 25,000 asylum claims each year. Sorry, CPB1 app brought 1 million asylum seekers into the U.S. to wait for claims to be adjudicated. Backlash is heartless but predictable. Thank you. Yes. Eric Rousseau, the chat enjoys begging the libs. Thank you. Appreciate that. The China Shill, Total War, Rome 2 or Imperator Rome? I'll teach you.
Imperator Rome.
There you go.
It was dude, I mean, I'm not going to put that kind of time into something that is going to not have any value for me at all.
Right.
You know, what's that going to do for me to master something that complicated where I have to take in that much information and study it to that point? I'm going to do that with something that has a real world application. I'm not going to do it with a game.
There you go. Pardon Luigi, says Eric Rousseau. Unnecessary. He didn't do anything. Cole 3000, 80% of U.S. public was irrationally bloodthirsty after 9/11. Just wanted to see dead Muslims. Now we're rightfully horrified with ourselves. Israeli public won't snap out of it for a decade at least. Thank you, Cole. Appreciate that. Dan Who, thanks for the $5. Trump doing his presidential duties on Pelosi's desk. Bring it on.
I mean, really, what would they do? Is there any provision in law to hold them accountable? What if you had a president who walked in and shut Pelosi's desk every day? What would they do about it?
Every single day? Going to impeach him? Going to have debates over that in the Senate?
How would you stop it?
Yeah. All right, Furrow Screen, I love that chat, but I'm not going to read that on YouTube. I'm going to save that for our Q&A. I'm not going to delete it from my queue. I'm going to keep it here, but I'm going to read it on the Q&A this week. That's my promise to you. Someone took a photo of Daniel Penny reading a book on the subway this week. Such a relief that he just quietly returned to his life and didn't try to cash in as a cringe right-wing grifter. That is actually, yes. You know what? I agree with that.
You have a very good point.
It's a very good point. Didn't do the Rittenhouse podcast circuit, right? Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
Riley Gaines.
Yeah, that's right. You know, that's a good point. You know what? I think that is.
Yeah, Riley, you're an expert on immigration policy now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sparky, let's hope your boy and war criminal Anthony Blinken ends up in The Hague. Absolutely. Thank you. Love the show. Keaton Dobler, Russell Weiss of Due Dissidents. I feel validated in my decision to vote third party and be free of the two-party plantation. Thank you, Otacom. Appreciate that very, very much. We got Sparky here. There's no objective test for autism, which left it open for a massive grift. There's been a huge autism industrial complex long enough where well-meaning people are fooled. What I said is true. I don't doubt you. I do not doubt you. But if you send us 5 more super chats about that, I'm going to diagnose you. How about that? All right. Philip Blair, thanks for the $5. I'm Aspie autistic. It's not an illness. It's a difference. There you go. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. I mean, hey, I think my kid might be a little autistic. Who knows? He's a good builder. You know, my kid put together an Encanto Lego set that was meant for like 12 and over.
Which one?
Yeah, Sawyer. Built that thing very, very well. I could never do that. I have too much ADD for that.
You should try to get him to put together a shed for you or something. See how he does.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see. All right, everybody. Hey, that's our show. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you so much to Ellin Jimmerson for coming on. Thanks to our YouTubers, to our Rumblers. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button on YouTube on the way out. Smash that follow button on Rumble on the way out. We're back Thursday at noon Eastern. Remember, no more 9 a.m. shows. Noon Eastern on Thursday. Until then, thanks very much for this afternoon. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.